Hey guys, what is going on? Here what I got, Apex Crypto Insights. But as always, QR guy Indigo Saint. Let's get it. Boom. Let's get it. Indigo Saint in the building. Blackrue Investing. Let's go.
Who's this producer?
Best believe it was Blackrue Investing. With your money, you ain't gotta be guessing. Profits is what we manifesting. So we binge on that Blackrue Investing. Best believe it was Blackrue Investing. That course in this race, we ain't resting. We got stocks, we got crypto with a blessing. So thank God for that Blackrue Investing. Best believe it was Blackrue Investing.
Then Q affiliate partner DCENT Wallet now. Your crypto deserves the best protection. So why settle for less? DCENT Crypto Wallet isn't just another wallet. It's safe, secure, easy to use, and supports your favorite cryptocurrencies all at the touch of a button. And now with my exclusive link, you'll save $30 on your new wallet. Better security, smarter investing, $30 in your pocket. Click on the link now and secure your better security today. So love DCENT Wallet. One of the easiest ways to help the channel and help yourself is to get a DCENT Wallet. $30 off for one, $99 off for two. And like I said, we're here with Apex Crypto Insights. Jesse had the privilege to do a show with Jesse, Max, and Crypto Future on our exclusives. If you join the Patreon, we have an exclusive between me, Max, and Crypto Future that we do every Thursday. A show. Jesse joined us and dropped some very, very great alpha on XRP. He and Max are two of the foremost guys that I go to for XRP research, and I wanted to have him on to talk XRP, but also to introduce you guys to his channel. And if you want to go over to his channel to catch some XRP stuff, you can. Hey, Jesse, thanks for coming on the show, man. Would you like to tell the people a little bit about yourself and why you got into XRP?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's awesome to be here with you, bro. It was really nice when we did that with Crypto Futures and Max. It was awesome. So thanks for having me, man. It's an honor. Making me bluff with all those compliments, man. Blush. Sorry. Well, I did a bit of research on XRP. So no, actually, I had just moved, and what happened is I was at a coffee shop, and the guy sitting like 6 rows from me. He was sitting pretty far from me, and he's like, "Hey, bro, have you heard of Bitcoin?" This was like many years ago, like eight years ago, just out of the blues. Like, didn't know me, had no clue who I was. Just, "Hey, have you heard of Bitcoin?" And then he started talking to me about Bitcoin. I started doing some research into it, and then I stumbled on XRP. But for about 20 years prior to that, I had been researching the central banking system, mainstream media, how they control everything, the World Economic Forum, the IMF, a lot of stuff, intelligence agencies. And so when I started looking into XRP, and I realized that they were working with central bankers and so on, and I started doing some digging. The more I dug, the more I started connecting. I was like, no. This is not normal. This is not just an average company. So, the further I went down the rabbit hole, the more I got hooked and just researched XRP, and then starting to get into these utility tokens like QNT, XDC, check, whatever utility, right? But my main research was XRP. I'd say 75%, 70% of my research was XRP. Did a ton load of research on QNT, probably like 5,000 hours of research on QNT, maybe over 9,000 hours on XRP is what I'm kind of guessing. Many years, just every single day, 5 to 10 hours per day. So that's how I stumbled on crypto and got quite obsessed, to be honest. Almost like a heroin addiction. Like I was really, I know it's bad. It's bad, right? Like, when you're doing everything, you're watching videos while you're doing everything, you're going to washroom watching videos. It's great.
Okay, Jesse, they say your mic volume is low. If you can turn that up, if not, it's okay. It's always hard to get these things to work.
Oh, sorry, just one sec.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to. So So my mic volume is low. Okay. Man, it's
Like
actually
don't try to do too much with it. If it's like, you know, I know it's hard all the
no, it's
time.
okay. I'll figure it out. Give me 2 seconds, maybe. Okay, just give me 2 minutes here. 2 seconds. I think I can fix this.
Sure.
Because normally this is the right, but normally we don't do live streams. So let me just bear with me, guys. If you give me 1 minute, I think I can fix that.
Okay.
I'm definitely gonna put it. Okay, yeah. So is it higher now?
It is higher now. That's good. That's good.
So we're gonna do a few tests here. So what about this? Ask them if this is perfect or if I should put it a bit louder.
It says they say it sounds okay now.
Is this perfect?
Yep.
I can make it a lot higher.
No, that's good. That's good.
Actually, it keeps going down and by its own, so I don't know why. But all right, so guys, don't be shy to let us know, okay? And just bear with me 2 seconds. Let me just grab one more thing here.
Okay. And then while Jesse's grabbing that, I want to flash up his channel. I also shared it, guys, in the chat there. So this is his channel, so you know what you're looking at when you're there. Does some great crypto, some great XRP deep dives with some really, like, I've never seen before charts. Like, I don't know, Jesse must have been compiling them over years' time, because there are definitely some charts that I've never seen anybody bring up before. But definitely go over to his channel and check him out. Okay, and then let's go back here.
Yeah, I
All
would
right,
encourage
Jesse.
everybody. Rue, I would encourage everybody to watch my unified playlist, my XRP playlist.
Mhm.
They start there. I mean, I was the first person to confirm that the unified ledger, shared ledger, regulated liability network, the Finternet, it's all the XRP ledger, and I proved that 1,000,000% on my deep dives. So, but my XRP playlist is the best one to watch. I kind of put all my deep dives there.
Now, when you said the decentralized, you said the ledger, the Linux unified. Say that again. I'm sorry.
No, like the reason I got into crypto, because there was like, the reason I started doing YouTube videos is because there was a lot of confusion in the Quant community, in XRP community, about the unified ledger Finternet. The Quant community had not researched the XRP ledger enough, and a lot of people in the XRP community had not researched the Quant community enough. And the Quant community was kind of stuck in the Telegram groups. And the guys controlling the Telegram groups, if you tried to tell them about XRP, they would just block you, delete you. It was crazy, pretty dirty. And I was like, you know what, enough is enough. I know the unified ledger is actually not Quant. It's providing the programmability and interoperability and the custom APIs for the unified ledger, but it's not Quant. The unified ledger itself is not Quant, because we see the diagrams from the BIS. Is literally the unified ledger is being connected by the Interledger protocol. If Quant has ultimate interoperability, why the heck would it need the Interledger protocol to connect one unified ledger to the other unified ledger? If Quant's a unified ledger, why the heck are we seeing 2 or 3 of them and they're being connected with the Interledger protocol? But anyway, so that's why I decided to do. I'm like, you know what, I can't keep all this information. I got to start doing videos. But I didn't want to, build a channel. I thought it's going to take me 2-3 years to build a channel. I've already spent almost 10 years researching. I mean, so I was hesitant, but I was okay, enough, because every time I tried to tell people, like, no, XRP is a huge, like, no, Quant is not replacing XRP. You get the insults and all that stuff. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start my YouTube channel. Whoever wants to listen will listen. But trying to tell them in a Telegram group and getting insulted from head to toe, even if you give him approval, I'm like, hey, Gilbert Verdian himself said this. The guy blocks me, kicks me out. Like, I'm showing him the proof that Gilbert Verdian said what I'm saying, and he kicks me out. Like, what? Like, like, your CEO of Quant, the company you're preaching, he said it himself. So and then, you get, so anyways, but yeah, so I proved that the unified ledger, the regulated liability network, the regulated settlement network, and the Finternet and the shared ledger, it's all the XRP ledger. And the central bankers are using different names, different terminologies across the board to try to confuse everybody. But it's all the XRP ledger. And I proved that in my videos. And so, because the community was kind of confused there. Like, we know it plays a role somehow, but the regulated liability network used to be called the regulated internet of value. But they changed the name real quick. The first time it was ever mentioned in a Citibank document in 2021, they called it the regulated internet of value. But they changed the name real quick, because everybody knows that's Ripple. internet value is Ripple. So we can't say that. So they called it regulated liability network. And where was I going with that? But yeah. So where the heck was I going at? Sorry, I don't know. Forgot the question.
No, it's very interesting when you think about that because they change names like that all the time. Like, crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger technology. Technically they're all the same, but depending on which context you use them in, someone might use, when they're using a negative context, they say crypto. When they're using a positive context, they might say either blockchain or distributed ledger technology. So it's pretty interesting.
But the central bankers are purposely using different names every time, so that we can't figure it out. Say, okay, you know what? This is all the XRP ledger for the instant liquidity. I'm talking for cross-border, cross liquidity. If you want to go from one asset to the other, you need a bridge asset. Okay, so they're and same for all their projects they have in the Innovation Hub, Project Agora, Project Nexus, Project Embridge. These are all Embridge. This is all the XRP ledger, and some of them possibly Stellar. But the majority of them are the XRP ledger, because the XRP ledger is the one that has the CBDC platform. The XR Ripple has a private CBDC platform that the majority of central banks are building their CBDCs on, and it's a carbon copy clone of the public XRP ledger. It has all the features of the public XRP ledger, but they're private ledgers. So each central bank can do whatever they want, right? But when it comes to settling, they're going to settle through the public XRP ledger eventually. Same for RippleNet. I do believe that volume is going to hit that public ledger at one point. And this is technically the new Bretton Woods. It's a new Bretton Woods that they're creating. It's a Bretton Woods 3.0, also known as a digital Bretton Woods. They're literally redoing they're redoing the SDR. So it's a new SDR, technically. ESDR. It's technically a new Bretton Woods at the same time, Bretton Woods Agreement. And it's also a global stablecoin. We're seeing Stellar and XRP being named as stable coins by the World Bank 5 years ago, when they were not backed by anything. They're not backed by anything. They're not pegged and they're not stable. So what the heck did the World Bank know 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when they're calling Stellar and XRP stable coins?
And see, guys, this is a great history for you guys to know. If you know the whole thing with Bretton Woods and what happened after World War II and how money was basically kind of created and how the petrodollar came into existence, it really colors your understanding of how money works, and how this is Bretton Woods 2.0.
It's the 3.0, actually. Sorry, 3.0.
3.0. Okay, what was 2.0?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're kind of correct there, because what happens is, so they created Bretton Woods 1.0. Man, I don't know how much time we have, because we can go into this if you want. But they created,
let's do it, bro. Let's do it.
I'll do this quick. So they created. You want the whole history, or I don't know, man, because I don't know.
Let's do it. I love I love the money history. Like, I got into it looking at Swift blockchain of all things, right? Because the Draper family, they had a very rich history when it comes to this. Tim Draper's grandfather, I think his name was William Draper the First. He was in charge of the oh god, I'm gonna mess this up. But there was like a rebuilding of Europe, in which his grandfather was responsible for where the money went from when they rebuilt Europe, and then his grandfather also had the first like limited partnership in America, right? They say it was like the second or whatever. It was the first one, but that got backed by Rockefeller money.
Of course.
And we know, yeah. Right. And we know the Rockefellers, with Standard Oil, we know they had a lot of power, which, Standard Oil Bank eventually became JP Morgan, which is backing Ethereum. And,
they created the Federal Reserve. So the Rockefellers created the Federal Reserve. They created the Council on Foreign Relations, which controlled all the mainstream media in North America. 95% of mainstream media since like 1947. They were instrumental in creating the CIA. Man, we got to be careful what we say. That's okay. Yep. And then they also started the American Medical Association, and that's what we got to be really careful, because as soon as you start digging about the medical association, the medical system, they'll shut you down. Like, Trust me, it's the most powerful. You be careful with that. But anyways, they started the American Medical Association. So they're behind what's called the drug trust, and literally the majority of global pharmaceutical profits and vaccine profits.
And many people do not know that. And
Yep.
that's why some of even like vitamins have a little bit of oil in them. A tiny bit of oil in them. People don't know that either. It's a tiny bit of petroleum. They say it helps it go down easier, but we can go on all day about that, bro. Oh man, that's interesting. Oh man.
If you want, do you want me to explain the history of actually like XRP, like the actual history and like who's behind it and how?
Please, and guys, the reason why this kind of colors our conversation is because Jesse mentioned Stellar, and that Stellar has like kind of interledger protocol implications. Yep. Zebec has been partnered with Stellar since the beginning. Stellar also, go ahead.
No, but if this is supposed to be about Zebec, I wasn't sure if this.
No, this is fine.
We can just talk about Zebec because I don't.
No, this is fine. Please, no, go ahead, and we could definitely, if you're willing to have the part 2. So.
Oh no, part 2? No, we can go for a few hours if you want. It's no problem. But I wasn't sure if you told your community that this was going to be about Zebec. So if
both. It's both Ripple and Zebec. So okay. Yes, please go over the history of XRP.
Okay. Let's show them how big XRP then is real quick. I'm going to give you a short version. Probably going to take me about 8 to 10 minutes here. I'm going to give you a very compressed version. So in 1945, after the World War II, I'm telling you, XRP goes way back to 1945. Like, hear me out here, guys. You might think I'm crazy, but hear me out. You'll believe me after, I promise. So 1945, all the countries came together trying to figure out how are we going to set this new world order after World War II? How are we going to rebuild, so on and so forth. So this is what we call the Bretton Woods Agreement, where all the nations agreed that, hey, the U.S. being the strongest economy, strongest power, whatever, will create the U.S. dollar will be used as a global reserve currency, and they will back it by gold. So all the nations agreed that they would hold the US dollar and they would do all of their trade with US dollar as long as the US backed every dollar with gold. So every dollar they issued, they would back it by gold. At the time, there was an economist by the name of Triffin. His last name was Triffin, and he says this is not going to work long term, because if you have a global reserve currency that's tied to a certain nation, tied to a country, that country will have to run deficits, trade deficits. So they're going to have to pump out more currencies than what they literally do in trade. They're going to have to run trade deficits. And so that's what we call the Triffin's dilemma. And at the time, there was another, the guy made me laugh there. I saw a comment. You have entered the alpha zone. Thank you, buddy.
Right? Shout out Creative Control.
Oh, God, that's so crazy. Thank you, guys. So at the time, they looked at another option was creating the Bancor. So the IMF would create the Bancor, since the IMF is not a nation or tied to any specific.
I'm sorry, 1 second. What's the Triffin's dilemma? Can you explain that first?
The Triffin's dilemma is that a country cannot, the global reserve currency cannot be tied to a sovereign currency. It can't be a sovereign currency. It cannot be a currency that's tied to a nation. So the US dollar, whether it's the US dollar, Canadian dollar, euro, it can't work long term. Because in order to supply the world, if all the nations of the world say, okay, we'll use the US dollar for trade, all our trade. Well, the US has to supply enough tokens, has to supply enough of that currency for the world to have that liquidity to be able to execute global trade, to do their trade. So that country that represents the global reserve currency has to keep running deficits, trade deficits. It has to supply the world. So it has to buy more than it sells, I think is my understanding. It has to, bottom line, it has to run trade deficits. So it's never going to win. It has to keep continuously running trade deficits. So, and all the countries are not very comfortable in holding a currency of a country that's consistently running trade deficits.
Got it.
It creates a lot of imbalances. Like if they're holding $200 billion of US debt, a country's holding $200 billion of US debt, and all of a sudden the US dollar gets stronger or weaker. It affects everything. Like it doesn't work. There's a lot of flaws in that. So that was Triffin's dilemma. But at the other option that they proposed at the time was the Bancor. So the IMF would create the Bancor, International Monetary Fund, And again, guys, I'm really showing you the history of XRP. I know it sounds crazy. You think like, why did he go 75 years back here? Come on, I promise you, it all ties together. I'm gonna prove it. So anyway, so they proposed a Bancor as well. So this would be a neutral currency that any nation could use, and it just the IMF would issue it. So that way we wouldn't have the Triffin's dilemma and so on and so forth. So at the time, they didn't go with that option. They chose the US dollar, and they ran with that. Now, 1969, we see the IMF creating the special drawing rights, which is technically a version of the Bancor that was proposed in 1945. They create the SDR, special drawing rights, but they only give it to central banks. So there's a few things here. There's about 2 or 3 points that I'm going to make here. And I'm going to show that, like, that's what the XRP community was missing. Okay, so it's the SDR, why it wasn't successful, and the Rising Phoenix article, and a few other things. So anyways, they create the special drawing rights, but they only give it to central banks. And it was supposed to be a supplementary reserve asset to help the US dollar, to supplement the US dollar, to help it with liquidity for global trade, liquidity, and foreign exchange. So it was supposed to supplement the US dollar for global trade, but it didn't work. They failed. And this is one of the main things that everybody missed here. They only gave it to central banks, and that's the main reason, my understanding, it failed. They didn't give it to commercial banks and tech companies, fintechs, corporations, and individuals to help build the use cases and the liquidity needed to be a supplementary reserve asset for the US dollar. So it failed. And then in 1971, this is considered the Bretton Woods II, is when President Nixon took the US off the gold standard. Some people don't refer to that as the Bretton Woods II, but most central banks and academic papers consider that Bretton Woods II. So you were right in the sense, that's why you didn't identify that as Bretton Woods II, because it was not formally said this is Bretton Woods II, but it's considered by many as Bretton Woods II, but it wasn't formally named that at the time. So anyway, President Nixon said, you know what, we're not backing our dollars with gold anymore. You know, we're just going to go on a debt-based system, and the system changed to floating exchange rates and a debt-based system. They just print money out of thin air and completely worthless, not backed by anything except for the confidence that nations or people have in that government's ability to pay off the debt. So money's just debt now. So that's what happened there. Now, so the SDR never got that adoption, that liquidity needed. So in 1988, the Rising Phoenix article comes out, and it says, get ready for a new world currency. Everybody talks about the front page of the article, the Rising Phoenix, but nobody ever talks about what the article actually said. And so it said, you know, get ready for new world currency by 2018, so 30 years from then, because the article was written in 1989. It was Economist magazine. Supposedly, it's supposed to be owned by the Rothschild, the Economist magazine. That's not something I've confirmed, but everybody says that, so it could be, it's likely is. But anyways, it said in 30 years from now, we'll have a new world currency. But the article explained that this new world currency was going to be possible because of new technologies they had. And this new currency would help with global trade, global liquidity, and help with the FX market. It would fix the issues. But in a very subtle way, the article argued that the IMF would be the best institution to manage this new world currency. That would do exactly what Ripple is doing today. Keep that in mind, because what does Ripple do? On-demand liquidity, FX, fixes the FX market, the issues with FX, and it helps with global trade, speeds up global trade. So what they're doing here in the article, really what they're doing is they're saying we have new technologies that we're going to be able to create a new SDR. They're just saying in a subtle way that, you know, the IMF would be the best institution possibly to manage this. But of course, they're not going to say it out loud. You know, they're not going to say it plainly, but that's what they were doing. They're redoing the SDR. Excuse me. So because they say they have new technologies that are on the horizon, that's going to allow them to do this. So the year after is when David Schwartz gets a patent on distributed computer systems. If you Google search David Schwartz Bitcoin patent, you'll find a patent he got on distributed computer systems, which is technically distributed ledger technology, while he was working for the most powerful three-letter agency in the world. He was working for the NSA. Okay. So that's 1989. the year after that article came out saying they had new technologies that would allow them to do a new world currency that would help with global trade, liquidity, and FX. So then, fast forward, RippleNet starts gaining adoption in 2018. They released it 2016, 2017, but it starts getting adoption in 2018. Exactly 30 years after the article, exactly what the Rising Phoenix said. Exactly 2018 is when we start seeing the adoption of Ripple. But the ISO 20022, and we see starting in 2004, we also see emails of Ryan Fugger talking about Ripple in 2004 as well. Because the ISO 20022 is absolutely crucial for the internet value. It's absolutely crucial. Because if you settle a transaction instantly, that bank has to know the information on that payment. The format has to be the same across the board. So that's why the ISO 20022, that's why they start working on it years ago. Because you need that. So then in 2020, 21, I'm not sure which year, maybe 22, 2021, 22, 21 maybe, I'm not sure, around those years, Miguel Viaz, who used to work at CME Group, had the highest position, I think he was a managing, anyways, had a very high position for CME Group, went to Ripple. I think he was head of markets or, anyways, very high position with Ripple. He was being interviewed by Thinking Crypto, and he asked him, he says, what are you guys thinking of doing with the escrow? What do you think you guys will do with the XRP escrow? At the time, it was like 50 billion. And Miguel Diaz said, I think it's Miguel Viaz, he said, well, I think for me, I kind of see us, I don't think we would ever sell all of our XRP. For me, I kind of see us maybe as like a lender of last resort type. He said, I know that'd be strange for a private company, so maybe something would have to change structurally, or maybe we could, we would pass our escrow to somebody else, another institution, and they would be like a lender of last resort. My friends, the only lender of last resort on planet Earth is the IMF. So I told you the secret there. And I didn't talk about this for a long time because it makes me nervous. Honestly, makes me nervous.
I bet.
Makes me nervous to expose that because they've gone so far to hide that from people. And the people behind Ripple, and yeah, I feel better about it, but for a long time, it makes me very nervous. Like I'll post a video about it, I'll delete it, get paranoid, delete it, repost it later on, redo it. No, it's because I've done a lot of research on the three-letter agencies that are behind Ripple, in my opinion. They can't do what they're doing. They could never do what they're doing and have all the government support them if they were not backed by the absolute highest top. You just can't do that. You can't do that. You can't, a private company can't come and say, we're going to replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And we're going to provide liquidity for the world. Come on.
Right.
That's central banks. You're saying you're going to be the central banks of central banks. And nobody's going to stop you? Look at what happened to Gaddafi. That's what I said once. Look at what happened to Gaddafi. He didn't even do 1% of what Ripple is doing. Okay, so you just can't do that unless it's planned, unless you're working with the very top. It makes me very nervous every time I say that. Very nervous.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. With absolutely everything you said. Yeah, right? And and go ahead.
Oh no, so sorry to add. That's the Bretton Woods 3 now. So now they're creating new Bretton Woods where they're going to have a neutral bridge currency. Every country is not going to be forced to hold another country's currency. They can all hold their currency, their own currencies, or they can hold any currency they want. Because when they do the global trade, they can just settle through XRP. So it's that neutral bridge currency. It's that level playing field that we're hearing about. And that's why it's Bretton Woods 3 or digital Bretton Woods. You'll hear it in a very subtle way. If you search for Bretton Woods 3, digital Bretton Woods, that's what they're talking about. When they're talking about a new Bretton Woods, the IMF's talking about a new Bretton Woods, like a new Bretton Woods, but it relies on DLT. It's that XRP ledger because it's a neutral bridge currency. Now every country is not forced to hold another nation's country and worry about what that nation is doing. Because if you're forced to hold $200 billion in another country's currency, like US dollar, and like that country all of a sudden that dollar becomes a lot stronger than yours, you're never able to if you're holding debt, if you're holding US denominated debt, let's say, right, and because you're doing all your trade in debt in US dollars, and all of a sudden the US dollar gets a lot stronger than your currency, you can never repay that debt. It just doesn't work. And then you have the FX problems and all the other problems that comes with that. That's what they're trying to fix, because if you research the last 20, 30 years, what central banks have been all meaning about and talking about is how do we fix the liquidity crisis or the global debt crisis. They've been so Ripple is coming. They're coming to save the banks. Don't get me wrong, like I'm invested, but I'm not of the camp that thinks that Ripple is our best friend. If they could have,
Gotcha.
they could have done it without us. They would have done it without us. But they need us for liquidity, use cases, and everything.
Got you.
in my
Got you.
opinion.
Which you know, you think about all these cryptocurrencies, it almost seems like the beginning there's been this big disinformation campaign to keep people away from them. Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum. And you know, you just research the people behind them and it's very obvious that they're going to be used for something.
Yeah.
But first, the disinformation campaign was out there where people equate Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP to Hawk coin, Daddy coin, and like, you know what I mean? It's almost ludicrous to like even saying like you gotta laugh when you even think about it, but that is the common prevailing thought, that crypto is Hawk coin, and they lump all of everything in there with it, you know? So you know,
Most
I'm
because
just
they
happy.
control all mainstream media. Sorry, they control all of mainstream media, right? Like people don't realize that you have about 6 corporations that control about 97% of mainstream media. So they just set the policy at the top, and then they set the narrative to policy. So everybody that publishes any articles or airs anything, or like, it has to follow that policy, that narrative. If it doesn't follow that narrative, it's not published. So that's why people, like, when we talk about certain things like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, it's just that you haven't realized that all of mainstream media has been controlled for almost 80 years now. And
Guys,
so
like what he's saying is such the truth. And when people like, and by the way, you're kind of, people are trained to throw that information away or call people a conspiracy theorist. Like, yes, not only do they control, like, there's like 6 agencies that control all the media, all of the major colleges, including the black colleges, where Rockefeller found, Yale founded, you know, all the biggest families in the world. So when they do research papers, when they have these research foundations, they're the ones funding them. So they can grease the wheels and say, okay, well, I want you to find this,
oh,
or you're not
absolutely.
getting paid.
Yeah, so
So to
absolutely.
speak.
what
So
what the
go
Rockefellers
ahead.
did, what the Rockefellers did is, they, just to add to what you're saying, is they would approach, say, you know, we'll help you finance a university, give you $5 million, and you're talking 50 years ago, a ton load of money, right? So we'll give you this much money, which is a ridiculous amount, but if you don't mind, we would like to set up, you know, maybe have 1 or 2 of our agents on as the directors of your campus or university, just to, you know, we can, you know, see what kind of, how it's going with the research. And so they literally, they hijack the medical system. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think we should even go there, because, yeah.
yeah. Look it up, guys. I mean, Laura Spelman, which Spelman College, historical black college, is Lawrence Spelman Rockefeller. She founded Spelman College and a lot of other colleges, guys. So look that stuff up. It's not even, it's fact. It's literal fact.
Yeah, all the
There's
research
no
being controlled,
conspiracy in it.
mainstream media, research controlled. They pay for the elections for everybody, everything. And
But
I say let's not go there, but then I
yeah,
add,
exactly. Well, you know, I mean, I'm for it, but yeah, of course, you got to be careful because
I just don't want your YouTube channel to be like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, back around here to Zebec, Ripple, and Stellar, right? Zebec always mentions that they've been partnered with Stellar for years. Can you go into, you don't have to go into it via like Zebec, but the Interledger. Can you go into why the Interledger is so important to XRP?
yeah. So my understanding, like the Interledger protocol, my understanding is that it's really crucial when you want to exchange. It's not like the secure asset transfer protocol or any other protocol. It's really a payment based protocol, and to connect exchange networks, value exchange networks. And so when you take the Interledger protocol, combine it with something like the XRP Ledger and Stellar, because my understanding is Stellar is like a clone of XRP. They took the code, I think, from XRP, and then they changed some stuff. So, because, and then they said, we're going to focus on this market. And they're mostly focusing, my understanding, their main focus is peer-to-peer and small, medium enterprise is their bigger focus. While the biggest focus for Ripple is CBDCs and connecting nations, is my understanding. And so, because like I said, Ripple is, I don't think Stellar has a CBDC platform where central banks can launch CBDCs like nothing, right? So, so the Interledger protocol combined with Stellar and XRP is like a match made in heaven, and that's what allows anything to be converted from any type of currency to any type of currency. But it's not only any type of currency to any type of currency; it's any type of asset to any type of assets, any type of value. So you can go from tokenized stock to like a tokenized real estate to tokenized stock to maybe a derivative, from a derivative maybe to Subway coupon or restaurant, fast food restaurant coupon or token or whatever, anything of value, any to any value. That's why it's called the Internet of Value. And so, because a lot of people think like, oh, well, no, I saw them working with Solana, or I saw them working with I saw them working with this blockchain and they're going to replace XRP. No, it's not going to happen. And this is not putting down Solana or any other blockchain, but like it's not, there's no other blockchain aside from Stellar and Ripple that are made for cross assets, so cross border. So going from one type of asset, converting into XRP, and then converting into another asset instantly with a few seconds. Because to do that, you need the Interledger protocol, you need the XRP ledger, you need the decentralized exchange that's built on the XRP ledger, you need the order books that are also built on the XRP ledger, you need the liquidity, you need everything. So there is no other network aside from Stellar that where you can say, oh, I want this asset. I'm going to send you this asset, but I want this one. And you just press a button, automatically it multi-hops. Also, there's technology of multi-hop. It will find the best path for liquidity. It's unreal. Like XRP Ledger, and again, Stellar has some of that too, right? So like no other blockchain has that. I don't care what people say. Like they haven't done the research. Ethereum doesn't do that. Solana doesn't do that. You name any one of them, they don't do that. And even if they could, and the other component that you need RippleNet. You need RippleNet because you need that liquidity as well. They've been building RippleNet. Took them like 8 years to build up the liquidity on RippleNet. So that's another thing you need. Like Swift is not going to connect to another blockchain like Linea or all these like BS that you hear trying to get you to FUD your bags, right? Like it's not happening. They're not going to connect to another blockchain. All of a sudden, like they don't need XRP anymore.
The interesting thing that I've seen lately is how everything is connecting into XRP, and it's either via wormhole or via Base. Now on Coinbase, I can send via Base XRP now. So it's like,
and you know what? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I forgot because you're reminding me of something I forgot to share with you. In that document, in the 1988 Rising Phoenix article, the other thing I forgot to tell you is they said that they were going to accomplish this new world currency. They were going to accomplish this with relentless integration. So when you said that, it just reminded me, he's like, oh yeah, you see them integrating with everything? You're 100% right. But the article said that they were going to be able to accomplish this new world currency and provide global liquidity, help the FX and global trade by relentlessly integrating it into everything. So that's why they had to distribute it to everybody and build as many use cases as possible to get that liquidity.
Even people like Charles Hoskinson, who was initially funding quote unquote XRP, is like, yeah, we're going to connect to XRP now. Like everything, including Base, which is Ethereum backed, right? Ethereum based, connects into XRP. That can't be a coincidence, right? But then if you can imagine like every humongous family, let's just use that terminology, having their own piece of everything, right? Okay, well, Ethereum for JP Morgan and that type of family. Solana for another type of family, Swift blockchain and, everybody on the brick side for that type of family, So everybody gets to have their piece, but it all integrates into XRP.
Yeah, XRP is the internet of value, and Quant would be the internet of trust. But all the other blockchains combined, everything we're seeing right now, AI and blockchain, would be what we call the fourth industrial age or the fourth industrial revolution. So the information age, considered to be like the third industrial age or third industrial revolution, the information age, internet and phones, all this stuff, information age. But now we're moving to the fourth industrial age. So some people would say, well, AI is the fifth industrial age. Blockchain or the tokenization age is the fourth industrial age or the tokenization age. So, but I don't see, like I was having a discussion with Max the other day. Sometimes politicians will try to act as if all blockchains are part of the internet of value, but I don't see it that way. Even Vitalik Buterin said, the internet of value is Ripple. He said, we are not the internet of value. Ripple is, Ripple is the internet of value. But Stellar has, similar features and similar use cases and will play a role. But the main internet of value is Ripple. They've been saying for 7-8 years, we're building the internet of value. We're building the internet of value. We're building the internet of value. But now sometimes on stage or politicians in these Congress hearings and stuff like that, they'll try to make it sound like blockchain's the internet of value. No, blockchain is the fourth industrial revolution. Ripple is the internet of value, which is part of the fourth industrial revolution.
Now, when you say Quant's the internet of trust, how does that work with the internet of value?
Yeah, so Quant, the reason Gilbert Verdine said we are the internet of trust. Gilbert Verdine never said once we are the internet of value, not once. But he did say we provide the programmability and the interoperability and the custom APIs for the regulated liability network, which used to be called the regulated internet of value, right? And he said we also partnered with R3 on the project, who's bringing the shared ledger where all of the tokenized assets will reside. And then Tony McLaughlin, Citibank, always sitting on stage with Gilbert Verdine, basically acknowledged and he admitted that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network, RLN, are the same thing. And there's many other documents where I link and I show that it's all the XRP ledger. But Gilbert Verdine also recently said about a few months ago on Twitter, you can find it now, he said, we provide the programmability for the institutional internet of value. So he's saying we're providing the programmability for it. If he's providing the programmability for it and the interoperability or the orchestration for it, then he's not it, right? He's providing programmability for it. So the reason it's called the internet of trust is because Quant's an overlay. It's over ledger. It overlays all of the ledgers, the distributed ledgers or the blockchains. It overlays them and it allows all the existing world, all the legacy systems, software, databases, everything that exists to connect into blockchain. And blockchains represents trust. So that's why they're called the internet of trust. It allows the existing world that we have today to connect into blockchain. So it allows to connect into multiple blockchains at the same time. So with Quant, they can pick the best features of each blockchain and build what is called a multi-chain application or a NEMDApp. Okay, so again, the reason it's called the internet of trust is because he's interconnecting everything that exists to blockchain, and blockchain represents trust. Internet of trust, interconnecting to trust. So where the internet of value plays a role here is that the internet of value, mainly being the XRP ledger, just happens to be one of those blockchains that people can connect into. So they're connecting into any type of blockchain with Quant, with any blockchain and building a multi-chain application. One of those blockchains is the XRP ledger, or a distributed ledger, sorry. It's one of them. It just so happens to be an internet at the same time. It has so many use cases, and the use case is moving value. So it happens to be it's one of the DLTs that you can connect into using Quant. Just so happens to be the internet of value at the same time. Make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, I want to add one more thing. All the banks, central banks, commercial corporations, fintechs, they're all operating on legacy systems right now. These are all systems that are pre-blockchain. Legacy means they cannot speak to blockchain. They're not compatible with blockchain. Software, databases, like every app, you go on Zapier, 5,000 different apps, it can't talk to blockchain. They're not compatible with blockchain. But every industry we have right now is basically using these databases and softwares and different legacy systems, right? So how
Yeah.
do we get that old world that exists to move to blockchain? You need an operating system. So Quant built an operating system. Quant Overledger is an operating system because Gilbert Vernon knew we need to do kind of like what Microsoft did, but we need to build a router on top. So just the same way Microsoft Windows was the operating system for the third industrial age, which allowed the whole world to adopt, um, the internet. This Microsoft Windows. Quant is doing the same thing for the fourth industrial age. So Microsoft Windows helped us to move into the information age. Quant Overledger will help the whole world to move into the fourth industrial age, which is the tokenization age, blockchain world, and also, AI, because it's interoperability with AI as well.
Interesting. So then this helps me understand a little bit more how Stellar, or we can use Stellar and Zebec a little interchangeably here, as well as the Interledger is really important for both Quant and Ripple, because it's kind of like the messaging system between Quant, if you will, and any other blockchain.
Yeah, so with Quant now, you're going to be able to pick the best features of Stellar. You can pick the best features, what you like of Zebec, pick what you like of XRP. If you like Ethereum a bit, use Ethereum, like Solana, and build an application that uses the best features of those blockchains.
And each of those blockchains can have their own little stablecoin that connects back to the central bank that they say, okay, well, you have enough liquidity here. You're okay.
Yeah, to me, it's like unlimited use case. It's crazy because if you pick the best features of each blockchain, because but I think for Zebec though, when we're seeing that streaming payment, to me, I'm thinking like it has to be Stellar or XRP because of the Interledger protocol. Because the first time we ever heard about streaming payments is the Interledger protocol. It's XRP. The first presentations we ever heard 6-7 years ago, the first concept, first use case of even being able to do streaming, like streaming payments. So if you go on a website, say, hey, I don't want to pay for this monthly membership for this website. I just, help me. I just want to pay for this one reading. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read 30 minutes. I just want you to pay for that 30 minutes. I don't want to pay you a $40 subscription just to read this one article. So it's Ripple that came with that concept where you can stream a payment. So as you're on the website, you're paying them for the seconds that you're using it. But then when you're not using it, you're not paying. So you're streaming these little packets of value via the Interledger protocol. That's how you can stream value, is these little packets of value via the Interledger protocol. It's like an internet protocol. So with the internet protocol that we had, TCP, you're streaming packets of information. But the Interledger protocol follows the same concept of the Internet of Information, where instead of streaming packets of information, you're streaming packets of value.
Awesome. That's amazing. And this is where Zebec always talks about micropayments, right?
Yeah.
In the example you gave, right? It's like, okay, I'm only doing something for 30 minutes. And you can kind of tell that we're going into this kind of gig economy. We're done with people kind of staying at a job for like 10 or 15 years. That's going to be very rare. It's just going to be people doing gigs and gigs and gigs. Maybe they do multiple gigs for that company. Maybe they don't, but they get paid in micropayments, streaming value, and that's where we're headed.
Yeah, and a lot of other use cases too. Like with Zebec, you're going to be able to, like with this and Zebec, because Zebec is streaming payments. So, you can pay somebody every hour, every 2 hours. So he's sitting at his job. At the end of the day, he gets paid every time. Every 8 hours, he gets paid. He leaves home. As soon as he clocks out, boom, his pay hits his wallet, right? So many different use cases with that. Which is
one of the things that just came up is Jeremy Allaire and Circle. They're creating a blockchain called ARC, and they're saying that ARC is going to help with Forex, and it's going to be 24/7 instant payments. Sounds to me like Zebec, you know what I mean, with the whole instant payment thing. And Forex is one of the things you said that XRP would help with, right? So I can see Zebec being helpful for that, and I can see that being linked into the Interledger protocol as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So because Zebec is part of the ARC's testnet. I think there's over 100 institutions. One of the institutions is BlackRock. Just to give you an idea how big this is, right? And Zebec is part of this ARX testnet. And I'm going to do a deep dive on Jeremy Allaire and Circle and XRP. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like every time he talks about the internet value, and one time he said, well, like we're doing billions of volume right now, but we could scale that to trillions if we maybe like had a company, with the help of a company like Brad's company. He points at Brad Garlinghouse sitting on stage together. We could scale into the trillions. So, and then on stage he's talking about this internet value, but he's trying to make it sound like they're going to run this liquidity through Bitcoin. But a few months before, he admitted that Brad Garlinghouse is the company that helps them to scale. So when they're on stage, they never say Ripple, right? So they're very cautious. Sometimes they slip a bit. Like, listen, they're not using Bitcoin for liquidity, okay? It's not like they're not going to use Bitcoin to settle transactions. But so anyway, so Jeremy Allaire, literally, they're building the internet value. They're not building the internet value, but they're like XRP. It's all about XRP, right? Like that settled that again, that instant liquidity and that cross asset, cross border, cross liquidity. That's the XRP ledger, and Jeremy's all over it. Can't say it every time he's on stage, but I'm doing a deep dive on that. It's yeah, they're funny because they talk about the internet values without saying the internet value. They're kind of like, anyways, it's very interesting how they're all taught to speak a certain way.
It's interesting. I think Max was the first person to tell me this. It's Circle used to be kind of Stellar USDC. So they may have been always built to work with Stellar anyway, which would make them kind of like the stable coin of the Interledger protocol.
Yeah, they probably use Stellar too.
So that would be pretty interesting to think of if they are the stable coin of the Interledger protocol, which is Stellar. And Zebec has been partnered with Stellar, and they have Zebec also has investors that are Circle lead investors. So it makes a
Zebec could be mostly Stellar, Ripple, whatever.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense that Zebec might have big connections to the Interledger protocol. I think one guy, shout out to Blue Collar Crypto, made this connection a while back, and the founder of Zebec liked his post that he connected Zebec to the Interledger protocol. So it's pretty interesting there.
Wow. Yeah, nice when the CEO likes your when the CEO likes your post. It's these little giving things, right? These little times where they slip a like here, a comment here.
Yeah. So couple big Ripple news things coming up, guys. Let me share my screen here. Bring it back. Okay, so here we have supposedly the first spot ETF, because I thought there was one already, which I own. So this might be the second spot ETF for Canary Funds, launches on Thursday at market open. Here also, they say that 11 XRP ETF products now appear on the DTCC website. So maybe the shutdown could open the floodgates for the XRP. $5 next, and they show a few here: Franklin, Templeton, Volatility, Rex Osprey, which I thought that one was already done. That one is already done. It's trading right now. I own one. Amplify, CoinShares. Who else we got? Canary, Bitwise, ProShares, which is BlackRock, and 21 shares here. And then, interestingly enough, there's an article from CNBC here, which they say Ripple Labs is conquering crypto. Now the XRP-linked firm wants to take on traditional finance.
Again, they're misleading there because it was always about traditional finance.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. So they point out here that
unreal.
Yeah, an industry that's long been viewed as its foil, traditional finance. Yeah, so I agree with you there. Like they're definitely misleading. They keep making it as as if it's a competition type of thing. And they mention the $4 billion acquisition spree, buying prime broker Hidden Road, then buying software firm G Treasury. I hadn't heard about this G Treasury one. Have you heard anything about this one, Jesse?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. So basically, I think G Treasury is like the biggest company managing. I think they're one of the biggest ones for managing corporate treasuries. And one of the main products Ripple has is for corporate treasury. So they have like product for CBDCs. They have a product for corporate treasury. They have a product for like it's crazy. So I think this is one of the. I'm not sure if it's one of the biggest ones in the world, but they're pretty big. I think they might be one of the biggest in the world, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. They're very, very big, I think. And again, so yeah, they manage treasury.
Okay, and then they have one where they say it launched an offering through its brokerage that will provide U.S. based institutions access to over the counter spot market trading across several tokens, and they raised 500 million in fresh funding, lifted its marketing value to 40 billion. If we go down here, one of the things I think is pretty telling is that until we had a legal go ahead, it's going to be hard. Garlinghouse said banks are looking for and need that clarity for them to really lean in. And
Don't
right
even get me
before,
started on the lawsuit because that's another 30 minutes right there.
yeah, we might have to get into that a little bit. That'd be interesting. So right before this, they mentioned that the crypto industry lobby was once hopeful that lawmakers would pass a sweeping digital assets market structure bill called the Clarity Act before the end of the year. So they mentioned that, and it's interesting that he says banks need clarity. Later, another article that CNBC did says, this is November 11th, just a day later, says that the much awaited digital assets market structure bill is reaching another step. Okay. So this is the Senate's replacement for the Clarity Act. So again, how Jesse was talking about, they were changing names to confuse people. Well, here we go with the whole bill that they've changed the name of the bill so people don't necessarily know. But yes, I grokked it, and Grok said here, where is it? Did I get rid of that? Grok said yes, that is the bill. That is the bill that was once the Clarity Act. Let me pull that up here again for you. So yes, the crypto market structure bill under consideration in the Senate is a follow-up to the House passed Clarity Act. So again, if you had read this first article that I was telling you, it says, but the U.S. government shutdown is set to enter a 6-week efforts to establish legislative guidelines for the industry have come to a halt. You would have believed that that's halted, and it's not happening. So very interesting there. But Jesse, now you got me curious. Do you want to go into the lawsuit just a little bit?
Oh my goodness. So I was very hesitant if I was going to say this or not. So I prepared a video, but I never released it. So I'm not going to release it. I'm not going to release it because I think the lawsuit is fake. I think I can kind of prove it. And guys, if you're watching, use your 3-letter agencies. If you're watching, I destroyed the video. Okay, don't come to my house.
Like all evidence is gone. It's gone.
It's gone. Okay, I don't have anything going. And so in the video, in order to show that why I think it's fake, there's something to kind of prove it. I think I prove it 99%. I think I have to show some crazy stuff, some really crazy stuff that I don't want to say about these 3-letter agencies. Not on video, anyways. But I would encourage everybody to watch a guy by the name, I forget his name now. But anyways, they can search Confessions of an Economic Hitman. What's his name? I forget his name. And they can also listen to oh boy, Kevin Shipp. Kevin Shipp, but Shipp is spelled with 2 P's, SHIPP. He's a whistleblower for the same agency that we were talking about earlier. And he's the guy that held the most high-ranking positions within that intelligence agency. His name is Kevin Shipp. And listen to him explain how these 3-letter agencies operate, how they get presidents and vice presidents of different corporations, and how they execute their agenda under the National Security Act. So he explains basically how they get things done. So yeah, it's I'll explain it this way. I'll give you an idea. So I think they had like 4 or 5 different advantages. Yeah, John Perkins. Thank you very much, buddy. Nice. Yes, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So talks about his work for the IMF. Very interesting, guys. You don't even want to know, I think. But anyways, what was I going to say there? So I think they had many advantages. There's many advantages of a lawsuit. I think, first of all, it justifies why the price stays low for a while. I think gets the retailers scared and out for the most part. Third thing is, like, to me, I'm thinking, like, if you want to be able to incentivize different partners around the world, you need to incentivize them when the price is low. You know, Ripple going to different partners says, hey, bring your network to us, bring your volume, bring your utility to the XRP ledger, to RippleNet, and we'll give you this much XRP. And for you guys, it's this much. And for you guys, it's this much. If you look at R3, originally was 5 billion XRPs. We know they did deals like this. We have the proof. This is like public knowledge that they were doing deals like that. But so if you're doing a deal and you're trying to partner, getting everybody to adopt RippleNet and XRP, it's much easier to incentivize them when Ripple is $1 each. Say, hey, okay, we'll give you this much XRP at $1 each, and in the future maybe it'll be 100 or 1,000 or maybe 10,000. Very easy to incentivize people and corporations and banks and so on and so forth if they might do a 500x, 1,000x, 2,000x on their money. But if XRP is already $100, it's not the same. The incentive is not the same. So that's just speculation. I think they need the price to stay low for a while. I think it gets the retailers out. It justifies why the price is staying low. What else? It creates regulatory uncertainty globally. How the mainstream media push this narrative. Oh, we have regulatory uncertainty. We're not sure. You know, what's it going to be? Is this crypto ever going to go mainstream? You know, it allows all of the major regulators, the central banks, all of these people, the Financial Stability Board, the BIS, central banks for all central banks, it allows them to basically line up their ducks, you know, get ready, do what they need to do. So because it was like it created a lot of regulatory uncertainty, right? Because to me, the big one here is I know Ripple's not Ripple. Let's just say it like that. Ripple's not Ripple. Ripple is representing somebody else. And the institution that Ripple is working for, institutions that we talked about earlier, they are way more powerful than the SEC. Because when you understand, this is the kicker, guys. When you understand that Ripple's not your regular company, it's not your regular company, I'll just say it like that, and they're likely somebody else disguised as a private company, and you understand that the people behind Ripple are 1,000 times more powerful than the SEC, and that this has been planned for over 20, 30 years. If this lawsuit was a real lawsuit, because when SEC, I didn't even say this on my own channel, buddy. What I'm saying right now, because I was so nervous to say it, but I guess it's going to come out tonight. When the SEC sued Ripple, it technically, if this was a real attack, this wasn't just all planned, if this wasn't all theater, and this was a real attack against Ripple, not all planned, not all theater, you know, behind closed doors. If this was a real attack, the SEC guy would have vanished the next day. The people that brought the lawsuit on, they would have been fired. The lawsuit would have been canceled the next day, in my opinion, if this was a real lawsuit. Because the people that Ripple are representing are 1,000 times more powerful than the SEC. Okay, the Federal Reserve is above the SEC. The SEC is not above the Federal Reserve, and we know Ripple's working with the Federal Reserve. They're the architecture, they're the infrastructure layer for FedNow. So all of FedNow running on Ripple. Federal Reserve, CBDC that they were going to build. Now it's probably on hold because of Trump doesn't want a CBDC, and I agree with it. But FedNow runs on Ripple. The Bank of England, their RTGS runs on Ripple. The Hyperledger documents that we saw from Hyperledger Foundation, now called the Decentralized Trust, showed Ripple as the global RTGS. So all of the central banks have their RTGS system, which are called real-time gross settlement systems, and XRP Ledger is the global RTGS. So my point is, Ripple's working with central banks, Federal Reserve, Bank of England, IMF, all of them. And this is all planned for years. And they are all 1,000 times more powerful than the SEC. SEC is a joke. The SEC does what the Federal Reserve tells them to do. Trust me, the Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air and lends it to you as Congress. And nobody tells, it cannot be audited by government. Congress cannot tell the Federal Reserve what to do, what not to do. That's why Trump can't fire Powell. They're above the government. Private bankers are above the government. So my point is, if this was a real lawsuit, if the SEC was really suing Ripple, this wasn't all premeditated, they would have been out. There's no way, because again, how is it possible? Because they're not attacking Ripple, they're attacking somebody else. If this was a real attack, it wouldn't have lasted not even a week, because this has all been planned for 30 years.
Yeah, this is pretty easy to prove in that you can see that there were ETPs and ETFs of XRP before the lawsuit ended in America, in other countries. So that almost forecasts that it was going to end before, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but because Ripple is fixing a global liquidity crisis that the central bankers all over the world have been trying to figure out how the heck they're going to fix it for 30 years now. Because it's a global debt crisis, global liquidity crisis. So SEC just kind of, sorry, just one sec. Sorry about that. So SEC just come in putting a wrench and putting all of this at risk. This whole agenda, this whole plan at risk with a lawsuit. You think that would stand? They would have fired the person behind it immediately. They would have replaced them. Lawsuit would have been dropped, or you would have found them hanging in a tree somewhere. If this was,
and this leads me to a theory too that I have. The escrow, right? Just like Bitcoin, XRP could have a 51% attack if someone had 51% of XRP, right?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because it's not proof of work. No, it's not. Bitcoin, you can do that. I think it's because it's proof of work. But XRP is not based on proof of work. It's the I forget the consensus. It's a Byzantine fault consensus. Even though you can't do double spend.
Okay.
With XRP Ledger. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I was thinking, if someone ever got 51% control of XRP, that would really mess up the system. So then if I was them, I would just go take 51%. I would just take 50 billion of it off the market. Hence the escrow.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you mean like voter shares, kind of like the more XRP you have, the more power you have. No, because XRP doesn't work like that.
Okay.
Because David Short says the best incentive is no incentive. If somebody has an incentive to do a double spin or an attack, if there's an incentive, so I guess I'm not really explaining it properly. But yeah, no, it doesn't. You can't, even if somebody holds 51%, they can't overtake the blockchain and start validating and yeah, because it's not proof of work.
Okay, gotcha.
XRP doesn't have that double spin. They can't. That's possible with Bitcoin, but not with XRP. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, that's good. Let's see here. So one other thing I wanted to show you guys, which I've shown people before, is that Zebec and XRP share investors. That being Lightspeed. So if we show For some reason, it's not showing.
Yeah, there's a few of them, I think.
Okay, and what are those, Jesse? For some reason, it's not showing
No,
on
I
my
don't forget.
screen.
I forgot the name either. I forgot the name.
Okay, so I know it's Lightspeed Ventures is one of them. For some reason, it's not showing. Let me open a new tab here.
I have it here actually, I think. But you're way more an expert in Zebec than I am. I'll be honest.
So off the top of my head, there's Lightspeed Ventures, but then there's some other people that indirectly you could say that they're let's see funding details. Okay, there we go. They're not letting me do it that way. So here's the funding. They can do it. We can do it this way. So there's Lightspeed Ventures, and then if you look at Coinbase Ventures, just keep them in mind as we go switch over here to XRP and their investors. So Lightspeed, they're right here. But then you see Andreessen Horowitz, right? They're also initial investors in Coinbase.
Okay,
So
we can't see
Coinbase
it on the
Venture.
screen. Are you
Oh,
trying to show it on the screen?
yes.
That's not showing right now. No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Let me go back here. So here is Zebec's initial investors. Or, okay, that's XRP. So here's XRP's. Well, let's start with Zebec. So with Zebec, we have Coinbase Ventures and Lightspeed. February 22, 2022. 28 million. Now, if we go back to XRP, I'm sorry. Here we have Zebec, and we have Coinbase Ventures and Lightspeed. Now, if we go to XRP, we have Lightspeed, but we also have Andreessen Horowitz, and Andreessen Horowitz, their initial investors in Coinbase. So they're also, when you see Coinbase Ventures, they're also invested in Coinbase Ventures. So you can say at least those two. And then also we have
Hinge Capital there. I think Hinge Capital was Hinge Capital also an investor. Hinge Capital
Hinge.
there.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I have to look into that. I know that Digital Currency Group is also an investor because they're also an investor in Coinbase.
Yeah, they're big actually. But my understanding is what Zebec partnering up with Ripple and Stellar, let's say, especially Ripple, now they're going global. Their solutions can be used global because now you can do cross border. If a company in the U.S. wants to pay their employees or pay for their trade or pay somebody in the Philippines through Zebec, they can literally just they can send their US dollar and it'll go through XRP and it'll come out the other end in whatever currency, Filipino peso or whatever. It allows them to go cross border and pay anybody with any type of currency instantly using the Interledger protocol.
Yep, exactly.
So it allows Zebec to go global with their solutions. It's kind of how I'm seeing it.
Exactly. And that's what there's not debate, but like somebody was talking about Zebec basically possibly having a layer one. And I was just like, me and another guy were kind of shooting that down a little bit because they don't need a layer one. They just only thing they need is the protocol. Like they want to be blockchain agnostic. So to me, a layer one would almost be a waste of resources for them.
Yeah.
So
because it has to do with the routing capabilities also that Stellar and Ripple has. Like it routes already to find the best path for liquidity, the cheapest fees, the most liquidity. I mean, like I said, Ripple has everything: the Interledger protocol, the decentralized order books, decentralized exchange, decentralized exchange, RippleNet for liquidity, multi-hop, finding the best paths for liquidity. It has the liquidity pools as well, so you can go from any, because you need to have the liquidity. And so there's no other technology where you just press a button and automatically you say whichever currency you want, and automatically it goes from one currency, goes through XRP, and goes through that other currency at the other end. Like Solana doesn't do that. Even XDC doesn't do that. No, it doesn't do it. Like, people don't understand, because a lot of people are thinking XDC, and I did a lot of deep dives on that, but like, oh, we can use XDC, for example, for trade, for liquidity. No, you can make a payment with XDC, but if somebody says, hey, listen, I want pesos, and you have US dollar, you'd have to try to find a pair on the exchanges somewhere where you can exchange your XDC, you exchange your US dollar for XDC, right? And then you try to find another pair, another exchange somewhere where you can find the XDC, change the XDC for pesos, and then give the person the pesos. Because you don't, like, it doesn't
But even
work.
like we were saying earlier, like, we know that R3 is going through the ledger.
Yeah, 100%. It's misconception. Yeah, I was just giving an example because we see XDC very involved with R3, and they're thinking like, no, it's going to do cross-border. It's not built for cross-border. Like, I've been pounding this in people's head. Listen, guys, it's not made for cross-border. When you're talking cross-border, you're talking cross-asset. Nothing other. There's no other blockchain that's purposely built for cross-border. Ethereum, Solana, XDC, they're not purposely built bridge assets. You don't just press a button and automatically it goes from one type of currency, exchanges to XRP, and then exchanges that XRP other currency, instantly in 3 seconds. You can't do it. It doesn't exist. It doesn't, like, because you need all of the different features that Ripple has, like I said, in Stellar. You need the Interledger protocol, the order books, the decentralized exchange, RippleNet, the liquidity, the pad finding, the multi-hop. You need all of it. It's not, and they've been building out the liquidity for 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
Need the liquidity. So anyways, there's a lot of confusion there on, thinking, oh, we can just launch a blockchain or, we're going to replace Ripple or just, no. F no.
Yeah. People, as a coder too, I understand how hard it is to write code and to validate it and verify it and all of this. So when Jesse's saying something took 30 years to build, imagine, like, even though I know people saw it as just technology gets better, but you're not going to replace 30 years of coding and verifying and validating in a year or two. You just can't.
And Brad Garlinghouse admitted, he said the people working on Ripple, XRP, had worked on Bitcoin, and so they understood the flaws of Bitcoin, and that's why they built XRP. So he's admitting that people worked on XRP, worked on Bitcoin. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting, David Schwartz.
Arthur Brittle, all these guys, right?
Very, very interesting.
So, I mean, yeah, no, like, these guys are next level. Like, David is literally holding distributed computer system patent dating back way in 1989.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Uh-oh. I got a question here. I don't know if we want to get into it today. I don't know how much time you have. Maybe we can do that number 2 on your channel. But we got, do you think Swift Bank chose Linea because they utilized the zero knowledge, where the transactions are more private because of how zero knowledge and where they came from?
Okay, so yeah, it's gonna be gonna try to make this one short. So thanks for the question. And yeah, so I would encourage you, my friend, this is under my skin.
Yeah.
19. Shout out to you. Thanks for the question. I would encourage you to watch a few deep dives I did on my YouTube channel about Swift. So I did 2 deep dives, 1 or 2 about Linea, Swift, Ethereum. It's complete FUD. Like, Linea and Ethereum are not going to replace XRP again. So, so there's a lot to discuss here, but I did 2 deep dives about Swift alone, Swift and XRP. I did 1 or 2 about the Linea, Ethereum FUD. People thinking that, Swift is going to use Linea instead. It's not happening. It's not happening. So, because again, Linea and I know that's what they're portraying. So I understand, why people would be deceived there. But Swift, in the recent announcement about Linea, about the recent announcement about Linea, they said like they're looking into creating a shared ledger where it would. So they're talking about this new technology, new blockchain, layer one. It could do like a shared ledger. It's kind of a new thing that they want to do with Linea and Ethereum. But when I show articles 2022, going back 2022 or Swift talking about a shared ledger, right? How they could use a shared ledger, and this shared ledger would be connecting different nations together. So the payment systems of every nation would be connected via this shared ledger, and that's the XRP ledger. And so Stellar and Ripple are the only companies. So ISO 20022 is literally the messaging standard that Swift created to help advance cross-border. It's all about making cross-border seamless. That's what the ISO 20022 is about. It's a Swift standard, and Ripple and Stellar are the only blockchain companies on the actual governance body of Swift. I'm not saying they're the only ones that are actually compliant, but they are the only ones that are actually on the governance body, the steering committee for Swift, the ISO 20022 standard. They're the only ones that are sitting on the steering committee. Okay, and this is a Swift standard for cross-border payments. And you really think Swift is going to use somebody else? No, my friends. It's all deception. It's all deception. Because again, Ethereum and Linea are not purposely built as bridge assets. They might use Ethereum and Linea for some things, but they're not using it for that liquidity. They're not using it for cross-border, cross-asset, and global liquidity. It's not happening. It's FUD. It's complete BS. And so we have the guy that was working at Swift, been at Swift for 20 years. He's saying that he's being interviewed for like an hour. He's saying Swift runs through my blood. Exact words. He's saying, I've been with Swift for 20 years. He was a manager for Swift. And he said, Swift runs through my blood. And now he's with a bank. I can't remember the name of the bank. I have all this on my website and on my channel. And he says, he starts bragging about how great Ripple is and why they're going to use Ripple. And he says, because you're KYC compliant, you're AML compliant, you have a global rule book that everybody signs up to, you have that instant liquidity. Literally 45 minutes, he talks about how great Ripple is. This was the manager, one of the top positions at Swift for 20 years.
Ooh.
And we see, so imagine, because when I say Ripple and Stellar are sitting on the steering committee, the governance body, this is not, they're not playing poker here. This is not like, this is the steering committee. You're literally steering the actual standard. You're the governance body. You're dictating it. You're steering it. You're helping Swift to literally, you're deciding who's going to be part of it, who's not, what technology you're going to use, what are going to be the standards, what's like, again, like you're at the very, very, very top. You're steering the committee. You're steering the whole standard, ISO standard. So again, Ripple and Stellar are the only blockchain companies on the steering committee. You can't make that stuff up. But anyways, I got like deep dive after deep dive. I could talk hours about why Swift is not using Ethereum and Linea for cross-border payments. And again, even if Linea and Ethereum could do it, which they can't, they wouldn't have the liquidity, because you need liquidity. You need all of these different liquidity pairs. You need to build up the liquidity in all different liquidity pools. Like you have to have the Interledger protocol. You have to have the XRP ledger. Again, you have to have the order books. You have to have RippleNet that they've been building for the liquidity. Because there's no liquidity. I would like anybody to show me where Ethereum and Linea, show me in the code anywhere where you can just send a payment via Ethereum and you say, okay, you know what? I'm sending US dollar to my, one of somebody I do business with. Let's say I'm in the US and I do business with another country in the Philippines. Okay. I want to send them US dollars, but I want them to receive pesos instantly. I don't want to go through this intermediary of 7 different banks, having to hold Nostro-Vostro accounts, trillions of dollars trapped in Nostro-Vostro accounts, having 7% error rates, not knowing where the payment is for a week, not knowing what the cost of the payment is going to be, not knowing if it actually settled. I don't want to go through this whole mess. I just want to press a button and literally I'm going to send US dollar, and my business partner at the other end, whether I don't know, do global trade or whatever I do, remittances, doesn't matter. I want them to receive peso. I'm going to send them US dollar, but they don't want US dollar. They want pesos and they want it instantly. Show me in the code of Solana, Ethereum, Linea, anywhere in any of these blockchains where literally you can just pick a currency, send the payment, and the other recipient at the other end of the world is going to receive whatever currency they want. Show me in the code of any of Lena and Ethereum where you can do that. Show me in the code or in the technology where you can do that. And show me the liquidity. So again, they cannot replace Swift. They cannot replace XRP, I mean. Okay, this is all BS. I don't care how much billions of dollars they're spending through mainstream media trying to basically deceive people that Lena and Ethereum are going to replace XRP. Swift is going to use, it's not happening, my friend. It's not happening. And sorry for being so straightforward. I just don't like people being deceived.
And the interesting part about that announcement is it showed all the banks in that announcement that Ripple works with.
All of them are Ripple partners.
So it was like they were telling you.
Yeah,
it was like
RippleNet.
Right. So it was like they were like, okay, the public's going to hear this, but people who read the document are going to see this. You know what I mean? So
it takes thousands of hours though of research to know. That's the problem. Like if I hadn't done 9,000 hours of research in Ripple, I would have been probably deceiving myself too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You have to understand that, it takes a lot. You need to know a lot to understand, like, no, it cannot replace it. Even just a matter of liquidity too, right?
But shout out. Oh, go ahead.
No, it frustrates me, people being deceived. That's what I don't like. That's why I get so passionate when I start talking about it, because I see so many people being deceived by these articles that are being pushed out like this. Like the whole purpose, they're trying to deceive. They're trying to mislead. They're trying to confuse,
And shout out to Pharmacopoeia for this for this question. And you were saying,
well, no, if you look at the Innovation Hub, the BIS Innovation Hub, the Bank for International Settlements, they have numerous different CBDC projects all over the world, and they give it all a different name. Enbridge, Project Nexus, Project Agora, Project Mandala, all of these different projects, when you dig deep, it's all describing the XRP ledger to a T or Stellar. So it's like literally, so you take one of those projects, you put it in Grok 3, and you say literally, compare this with Ripple and any of Ripple's technology and tell me if there's any similarities. And literally the AI will give you 4 pages of why it's absolutely identical. So this part of the project, this description of the technology, what it does is identical to RippleNet because of this. This part of this document, Agora project, is identical to the XRP ledger because of this, and this. This part of the technology is identical to Interledger protocol because of this and this and this. It goes on and on and on. It is identical to RippleNet, identical, like everything, literally, like and I also prove in different ways, but many of these projects are XRP Ledger, but they use different names every time. Project Nexus, project using a shared ledger technology, a shared ledger concept, a multinational network for cross-border, a unified ledger concept. Project Agora is using some concepts from the unified ledger trial. Like it's all the same. It's all the same.
It's true. So like looking at this this bill here, there's going to be Clarity Act. They're calling it now the Crypto Market Structure Bill. So if we scroll down, one of the things that they kind of say is that they're going to make certain assets. They say just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I'm sure XRP as well, as digital commodities. It's interesting that they say this and place them under the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, because Stellar has been a member of like a committee of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission for years now. Even before the XRP case ended, Stellar was on a committee for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, along with HSBC, which has Ripple ties, along with BlackRock, who has Ripple ties. So very, very interesting here, that they're now making them commodities. Any comment on that, Jesse?
Yeah, well, I don't even know where to start. Yeah, well, we can take and leave some. We can take some and leave some from what they say, right? So, but I don't know. I know Ripple and Stellar are going to be global stablecoins. I don't know if that's going to fall under the bucket of a commodity, but it's definitely. Yeah, I like his comment.
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
Made up the word conspiracy to throw you off for that. Yeah, exactly. Because the word conspiracy theory was actually created by the intelligence agencies.
Yes. Yep,
help,
for
you know.
the Kennedy
But they
assassination.
use that word a lot so that if anybody starts picking in a direction that they don't want you to go, like try to kind of scare people of thinking that way, like, oh, it's conspiracy theory. My understanding is they invented a word and they use the word a lot anytime somebody says something they don't like. Yeah.
100.
So sorry, a commodity? No, not much. I think they'll probably be considered a commodity. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I kind of take it. I take some and I leave some with these news announcement. You know, they say
Yeah.
something, but then like 3 years ago they're saying Bitcoin is just going to be for pornography and sex trade, and 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that's what they were saying, right? Stay away from it. They did the same thing for the internet. So what they do is they scare the masses while they just load up their bags. And once they have their bags and they're ready, then they tell everybody this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And everybody comes
Yeah.
pouring in, and then they're already sitting there. They bought every stock or every crypto on pennies. And so they did the same thing for the internet. They scared people away from it. It's going to be just used for money laundering, drug trafficking, sex trafficking. It's complete scam, blah, 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 blah. At the same time, they were buying all the AOLs and the Netscape and all the first companies. They were buying all the infrastructure. And then they tell everybody, this is the greatest thing, it's best technology. Oh my goodness, there's nothing like it. Everybody comes pouring in, and then the stock goes 1000x, and then they all dump on everybody.
Yeah, guys, that's very fun. And also we saw this with the earliest version of banks, because after the Great Depression, nobody wanted to put their money in the banks. And then JP Morgan comes along, buys the banks up, and banks are the biggest thing, out there now. You can also go back and say, I've heard this somewhere. I don't know if this is true, and I don't know if you've done any research on it. But before central banks, the way that taxing kind of worked was tariffs. So,
okay, it's possible. Yeah.
so Trump's just using what was used before
Oh yeah.
the actual central banks, which were tariffs.
Yeah, definitely, because it's way better. Again, this is all propaganda saying tariffs are the worst thing and people are going to lose. No, it's complete BS. It's all BS. It's all BS. Like, people need to understand. Like, I know we're going to go into politics, or might lose a few here. It's okay. I love you guys, even if you if you hate me after this comment. But the main reason that the mainstream media is against Trump, and they tried to sue him like 98 times and charge him with all these BS, and tried to kill him and all these things, is because Trump is going against the same people that JF Kennedy was going against. You need to understand that, guys. Trump doesn't need this BS. Come on, guys. Trump, do you really think he needs this? Because some people say, oh, he got into politics to get rich. He lost $1 billion. He's like one of the only person that literally lost money. His net worth went down. He didn't gain from this. And we're going off topic here a bit. But
No, it's all good. So let me see if I got any more interesting questions here.
Yeah, he's going against the same people JF Kennedy was going against, which is the people we were talking about, people you're talking about, the central banks.
Which is interesting too, because Kennedy, before he kind of got taken out, or if that happened or not, but I know there was like a bill he put on the docket, which no one uses, by the way, now, which you could back money by silver. And apparently it's still on the books, but no president ever dares touch it. But America could back its money by silver instead of by the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. So JF Kennedy, I think, my understanding, he signed a few executive orders, and he was going against the elites. He signed a few executive orders that were very powerful. They were going against the central banking system and the elites. And one of them, I think, is he either wanted to prevent them from creating the World Bank, or he was going to dismantle the World Bank. And because the agenda is not what they tell you. But he was going against the central bankers. And 7 months before his assassination, you guys can research this, do a search for JF Kennedy Secret Society speech, JFK Secret Society speech. He gave a speech to the American Media Association 7 months before his assassination. And he told the mainstream media, I need your help to expose these elites that are controlling every level of our government. They're controlling our intelligence agencies, our military, our financial system. They're controlling everything. And he says, as long as I'm president, this will not continue. And he threatened he threatened the elites. And 7 months later, you see what happened. It's an amazing speech. It's called the J.F. Kennedy Secret Society speech. It's very hard to find now, but it's that speech and a few executive orders that he signed that got him.
I've heard that one. I've heard that speech, and I think I remember one executive order he signed was that dollars, and they called them like silverback dollars, that you could back them by silver and go circumvent the central bank.
Well, Gaddafi was going to do the same thing. Different country, but Gaddafi's doing the same thing. He was creating he was going to create a new dollar for the African continent. He was going to back it by gold.
Yep.
So he was going against the system, the current system. We'll leave that one there.
Yeah, we'll leave that one there. I guess that's a good one to kind of end on. I guess, guys, we usually go through all the questions, but I know it's like
I have time, buddy. If you want to go through some questions, go ahead. If you
okay,
have time,
well, let's catch a couple. Let's catch a couple questions.
I've been ranting forever. I'll take a bunch of questions.
Let's see here. All right, so guys, if you have some questions, put them in now. I'll see if I can get to the questions at the top while the questions are coming in at the bottom here.
You got to look for the super chats, buddy. If people are doing super chats, you got to answer their questions.
Oh, yeah, there's no super chat questions other than there's some comments by Max. Max was telling us about the volume. Thank you, Max, for that. We got that figured out.
$5. Thank you, buddy.
Shout out to Max there.
XRPs.
Right. I'm gonna buy some XRP with that for sure.
Thank you very much, buddy.
And then
it's all for Rue, okay? You're the man.
Appreciate it, brother. Quant PayScript new product complements Swift.
Nice.
Let's see here.
What would I do?
Interesting comment here. Around 2000, a company called Wave Systems had tried streaming payments using a metering patent. Does anyone remember? I don't remember that one. Nezoni. What's up? Shout out to Nezoni. He is a member. Let's see here.
Man, I gotta change the resolution on my camera. Holy crap. Sorry, just 1 second.
No worries.
My resolution is too high. Holy.
Thanks, my sister's in the house. Thanks, sis. Hit that like button, Rue Crew, so the algo will share the valuable information with others. Thank you.
Nice.
Let's see here. Okay, and then Max again with the $20 super chat, letting me know about the volume. Thank you, Max.
Nice.
Appreciate that, brother.
The guy's printing money.
Right? Let's see here. I'm debating. Right? Same here, bro. Same here, though.
My God. The collab does all the editing, puts me on a pedestal. Does all the oh man, he's God sent. Oh my goodness, love you, bro.
Charmizzle says, "Rue, if AI takes over the workplace, who's going to pay the income tax?" Funny quote there. Funny comment there. Good point. Okay, here we go. Something. Brad explained Ripple is separate from XRP according to public information. RippleNet does not need XRP to operate, and most companies on board just use RippleNet, not XRP. Is this correct?
That's incorrect. So let me explain that misconception. So it's true that you don't need to use Ripple and RippleNet. Okay, so but if you don't use XRP, it's true that you don't need to use XRP to use RippleNet. You can use RippleNet without using XRP. But if you're using RippleNet without using XRP, all you're doing is you're using the messaging layer. So when you do a payment, you send a payment, that bank will be able to know exactly, when the payment's going to come in, the name of the institution, the sender recipient, they can communicate properly. That's you're only using the messaging layer for the payment. So you're only the payment information. Okay, so if you don't use XRP, you'll just use the messaging layer for the payment, for the information, but you'll still have to use the Nostro Vostro, and you'll have to use the whole bunch of intermediaries, banks. So you're going to pay a fortune for the payment. It's going to be very clunky. It's going to have a 6-7% error rate. You're going to go through literally the same intermediary banking system that we had. You're going to go through the SWIFT system, basically. And you're going to have 7% error rate. You're not going to go in know when your payment gets there. Your payment's going to settle in anywhere between 4 to 2 weeks. While anybody else with RippleNet, everybody else that decides, you know what, we're using XRP, they press a button, their transaction is going to settle in 3 seconds, less than a minute. In seconds, their cost is going to be like 90% less than yours. They're going to have instant liquidity, instant settlement. Again, their cost, you're not going to compete. Anybody that doesn't use XRP on RippleNet is not going to be able to compete, not even come close with everybody else that uses it. Because all of the benefits come when you use XRP. So they're right that you don't need to use XRP. But if, let's say, if somebody asks you, okay, I need to go drive to another country real quick, and somebody gives you a bicycle or a pair of rollerblades or a skateboard, you have an option between using a skateboard with broken wheels, or you can use a Ferrari. Which one are you going to use? Because if you use
definitely
RippleNet,
taking a Ferrari.
if you use RippleNet without using XRP, you're doomed. Like you're not going to be able to compete with the other payment providers and fintechs and banks that are using XRP. It's not like you're screwed. If you don't use XRP, you're screwed. It'd be crazy not to use XRP. So it's true what he's saying. You don't need to use it. But that's like saying I'm really, really thirsty, but I think I have a nice clean jar of water here. Drink some clean water, or I'm gonna go and have this bucket full of mud. I'll try to sip the water out of it. I don't know. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense not to use XRP.
Gotcha.
Already they're gonna use it. Yeah. Because you're going through the whole intermediary system, the whole clunky system that they've been trying to fix for 20 years.
Gotcha. So from Ruel White Investing, what's up, Mike? What up, Crop Toes? What, Mike? Shout out to Mike there. And then let's see here. I think we got okay, so one from Phantom Beat. Shout out Phantom Beat. Christine Lagarde said we need a new Bretton Woods moment in her IMF speech about 4 years ago.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. Zebec is gaining a lot of partnerships, listings, and adoptions. XPR, I'm super bullish on too, but they're not making Zebec moves right now. But that may change, but not right now. I think Zebec or XPR is their whole purpose is to onboard the credit unions to the system. So that's their whole purpose. It's just to onboard the credit unions, and so that's their role in the situation. I live very close to Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. I think that is. Let's see. Okay, they say this person says they don't need you. They're doing everything possible to not get retail to hold or own XRP. In a sense, that's true, and in a sense, it's not. In a sense, it's true in that they put out these like counter movements and these anti-XRP movements. But then for people who are in the know and people who know what's going on, you got things like Uphold, where they give you money back for just depositing your paycheck, direct deposit. You get XRP back for just doing that. There are doing things for people who know to get XRP in their hands and get it in their hands easily. So there's a give and take there.
Yeah, it's almost like they want us to know a bit to help liquidity or whatever, but not too much, so that we don't go all in, or everybody knows and everybody goes all in.
Right. So you got to think about the I guess like how people say like, well, the bull market's over when your barber is asking questions about should I buy Bitcoin. It's like they don't want the regular person to know, okay, well, XRP is the IMF. Like, how many people even know about the IMF to begin with? You know what I mean? And how money works.
Yeah.
Like, So it's like, there's that, and then going the whole way over where they're like, okay, well, the SEC doesn't like you, Ripple. We're suing you because you're bad, and that crypto is what these money launderers use. And they went that far with it to make it so much that people would not invest, where you have to go do your research, like Jesse, like I have done, like Max has done, and like I'm sure some of you have done, to understand what's going on here. Let's see. JSK, best deep dive ever, ruin Apex. I'm gonna have to start wearing scuba gear for your live streams. Pretty funny there.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Let's see here.
Nice.
Tim Shea, what's up, brother? Jose De La Torre, what's up? Bullish choices.
Nice.
Let's see here. What's going on November 2022?
Mm-hmm.
You want to answer that one?
You tell him what's going on.
Well, ISO will be live for the whole rest of the world on November 2022. Interesting date, 11/22. Add that up, that's 33. If you know, you know there. So, hey, really looking forward to it. Let's see.
Yeah, basically, like the November 22 is the final cutoff for ISO 20022. Like every single bank in the world has to be speaking the same language. And this is crucial for XRP adoption. I mean, this is crucial for in my opinion, it's crucial for for the success of the internet value. Because what we were saying earlier, me and Rue, is that when the payments can settle instantly with blockchain now, with Stellar and XRP, let's say, you settle instantly, but the bank still needs to have that information. So the reason it's so crucial, let's explain that. One bank, before the standardization of the ISO 2.0, first of all, it's more data rich, is my understanding. It's very rich in data. Okay, so it's gonna have all the banks, payment providers, fintechs have their messaging format, the information for the payment, for the tokens or whatever. It's going to be rich in data, and also they're all going to have the same data. So if a bank sends a payment prior to the ISO standard, if a bank is sending a payment, one bank in one country, the data, the information for that payment might be like 8 different lines. So sender, recipient, account number, institutional number, whatever. The other bank in another country, it might be 12 lines of different data. 12 lines instead of 8, and they're not in the same order. That's kind of the simple version. Right? So if you want everything to flow cross-border instantly and settle in seconds, when those payments hit the accounts, boom, 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 in seconds everywhere, the bank needs to make sure that they have the right information on that payment. Like, who was the sender? What was the name of his institution? What was the location? What's the institution number? What's the branch number? What the sender's name? What's his address? What's the recipient's name? What's his address? What's his institution number? They need to have all the information. If one bank is sending a payment and the information with that payment doesn't even match the receiving bank, you can't have instant settlement. It's kind of that idea, is my understanding. Plus, it's more rich in data, and this enables the internet value.
So think of it this way, guys. Like one of the big things with the whole car industrial revolution kind of deal going on was that car parts were standardized. Like, okay, I can now use this and fix an engine for a whole bunch of different cars than just one car. Now put this on a whole global scale. Now a bank in like middle of nowhere New Zealand can send something to like New York and it's fine and it's instant. So nothing required. Or some bank in New York sending to a bank in Russia, doesn't matter about the language difference or anything like that. The messaging is standard. The systems are standard. It's just easy.
Yeah, and the ISO, it's the International Standards Organization. It's the biggest organization in the world for standards. They set the standards for every single industry, every one of them. It's very, very crucial to have standards. For example, if I'm a shipping company, if I ship lumber or construction material. And for me, a meter is this long. In another country, a meter is, a real meter. In another country, a meter is, 10 centimeters. It's not going to work. They're going to order,
Exactly.
a load of wood from me. They're going to say, we want 10 feet, and I'm going to send them what's 10 feet for me. It's going to receive on their end. So you need to have standards across the board. It helps to speed up everything. Obviously, it just makes sense. And a great example of that is the shipping container. The reason they standardize the size of a shipping container is so that you can put it on a boat, put it on a train, and put it on a transport truck. When a truck is pulling it, brings it to the port, it can easily go on the boat, and then the boat will bring it across, the ocean, and then boom, the truck picks it up again, the cranes pick it up, they put it on a truck, because all the trucks are standardized. They put that container on the truck drives, brings it to the train, they put it on a train. So that's why they standardized the size of container, because they were bringing stuff at the port, and they would have to manually unload the trucks or whatever container they had by hand, because nothing was standardized. So when they standardized the shipping container to size, it was able to go from boat to transport to train to boat. So that allowed to speed up, I think, like the global trade, like 800x or whatever. I'm not sure.
There we go. So, coming from Max here, the flip of the switch is like when we flip from Yahoo to Google, from ASCII to Google. Google became the standard. XRP will be the standard, capturing the Internet of Value. There we go. Great comment, Max.
Maximus with the alpha.
Let's see here.
As always, Maximus Alpha. He changed his name, Maximus Alpha.
Right? Comment here from Jetpack. Fed is now shown to be running on centralized infrastructure inside a Fed reserve system.
It would make sense because, it's because, again, the central banks are building CBDCs on private versions of the CBDC. Central banks are building their CBDCs on private versions of the public XRP ledger. And you can hear James Wallace, the head of CBDC engagement, CBDC central bank engagement relationships for Ripple, and he explains in detail, how Ripple has a CBDC platform that allows central banks to launch their CBDCs like easy. And and so this allows every central bank, every country, to do whatever they want to do with their CBDCs. They can do them whatever monetary policy they want. They can build them how they want. It doesn't affect the other countries that way. So it helps with geopolitics and all this stuff. But when they want to settle, they have to go through the public XRP ledger. So the CBDCs are technically centralized. They are centralized. The country that the central bank is controlling it. It's a central bank. That's why it's centralized. So it's true, it's centralized. Absolutely.
So I don't know if this is true or not. XRP Ledger has a rule that one party cannot hold more than 20% of the supply.
I think that's possible, yeah. So then
Jake Claver is saying that after the ETFs, XRP hit a 3-digit price. Do you think that that's true?
I don't think it's the ETFs that would do that. That would or will do that. I don't think it's the ETFs. For me, I think it would be the ISO 20022.
Okay.
If anything. Or when, again, it's just an opinion. The ETFs shouldn't move it. But I don't, these 3 digits, 4 digits. He's saying 3 digits? We'll go 2 digits?
Yeah.
Maybe the ETFs and other stuff too, maybe. But I don't know if just the ETFs alone would push it that high. It's a 40x. Did the Bitcoin? I can't remember what did the other ones do on the ETF?
Bitcoin ETF really made Bitcoin triple. It went from like 20K all the way. Well, it might have even 5x, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
so 5. So it had 400 billion at time. So Bitcoin would have had, let's say, 400 billion. If it did a 5x, it means it would have had maybe like 400 billion market cap. XRP has 100. Is it? No, a few hundred. Sorry. How much is XRP right now? 150 to 200, 150 market cap? 150
around 100, 150.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll look it up.
So I think, yeah, personally, I don't think the ETFs. If Bitcoin did a five, if Bitcoin did a 5x on ETF, I don't think XRP will do a 40x because that. I do think XRP will do a 40x for sure, but not only just because of ETF. That's my opinion.
Cause right now, it is 144 billion.
Yeah, 40x
144.
is
That's
5
okay.
trillion. It's 5 trillion, so it's 5.6 trillion. No, I see it, the ISO plus the ITF, the ETF plus ISO that could do it. But I think there is going to be some kind of flip of a switch moment.
Yeah, I can also see it being too the Clarity Act. So maybe those three things in conjunction: the Clarity Act, which is now the Crypto Markets Act or whatever now. So Crypto Markets Act, ETF, and then the ISO.
The ISO, but also again, like we have to keep in mind, guys, that like, this is about settling transactions globally. You're talking nations. You're talking 10 to 20 trillion. This is, derivatives markets, stocks, bonds, derivatives, debt instruments, cross border. There's about 10 to 20 trillion, I think, that flows per day. And once these things start going live, yeah, it's lots of potential.
From Pharmacopoeia, all we have to remember is that Roger, we consider Roger Ver, I think he's saying there,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
consider Bitcoin Jesus helped create XRP. And he did. He did.
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree. Under my skin. Nice. Thank you, bro. That's a
And
good comment.
comment
Yeah.
from Dreamer here, 7.99 super chat. This live is more interesting and potentially more profitable than anything online. Thanks, fellas. Wow, that's quite the compliment there from Dreamer, a Patreon member.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
buddy.
much, Dreamer. Really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you very
Let's
much, man. Very nice of you.
see here. Yes, not too many people I can talk conspiracy, quote unquote, with Jesse. So it's nice, man. Let's see here.
If I go missing tomorrow, you know why.
Yeah, I'll probably have to take some of the blame on that too, man. Gonna have Max calling me like, "Why did you have to do that, bro? You got Jesse." Oh man, let's see here. Oh man. Western Union said they analyzed each network and found Solana to be the best fit. I know a lot of people were saying that was like XRP's death knell, and you know, I don't know. What do you think about that? Yes.
Well, I mean, if they found the best fit, if Solana's the best blockchain for Western Union, it means Western Union doesn't care about cross-border payments anymore. and they've decided not to do that anymore, and they don't care about remittances and whatever because you can't do cross-border instantly with Solana to any
Yeah,
nation.
I think it's some more misinformation news, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Because I saw some people say that, and then they were like, they instantly backtracked because they looked more into it, and they were like, well, Western Union's just doing this for a certain amount of pay. Like, it was literally like,
That was $50 million, I think, for like
yeah,
6 months. I don't know, was it Western Union paying Solana or
yeah,
Solana paying Western Union for 6 months? But again,
yes,
Solana is not a bridge currency. It's not made for remittances, going from one country to another country instantly, cross border. When you want to send a payment, if somebody in Canada wants to send a payment or money to a loved one, or maybe an employee or remittances corporation or whatever, they go to Western Union to send a payment. They want to be able to send US dollars, and instantly that person, whether they're in Mexico, Philippines, or wherever they are, that person can receive the currency that they want in their country instantly. You can't do that with Solana. So if Western Union is going to use Solana and they say we're only going to use Solana, well, I guess Western Union doesn't care about cross-border payments and they're going to drop their whole business then. No, let's be real, it's true,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's all BS. I'm not saying they won't use Solana for something, but they're not going to use it for cross-border payments. And like 90% of because that's their whole that's their business. Western Union, right? It's making payments. across the country sending payments. So I mean, maybe they want to be like Blockbuster and go out of business within a few months. Maybe that's their goal, but to each their own.
Daniel 73 Minshaw says, "You guys always doing such a good job researching. I like both you guys." Oh, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
$20 super chat. Really appreciate that. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, it's I see Jetpack's on his hate XRP thing, but in the hate we can all learn. We can all learn. The thing is, Ripple is now building their billion-dollar businesses, prime brokerage, stablecoins, and fiat rails. They don't even need XRP.
Okay, so how are they going to do their payments cross-border? So if they don't need XRP, when they send a payment cross-border, it's the internet value. Like this. I'm sorry, buddy. Like, respectfully, don't know what you're talking about. I have no other way of saying it. You need XRP because first of all, their whole thing is about building use cases and liquidity for XRP. They've said it. They've been very clear about that because that's their business, increasing the value of XRP. And you can't send payments cross-border. You can't go from one asset to the other cross-border, fix this liquidity crisis. Everything that Ripple is built for, everything Ripple's done, their whole business model is around using XRP for cross-border payments. And when they say cross-border, they mean cross-asset. It's not only just one currency to another. It's any type of asset to any type of asset. How are they going to do that without XRP? People think that they can do cross-border with stablecoins, and this is incorrect. You cannot do cross-border with stablecoins unless you want to go back to the SWIFT system, which doesn't work. This is why XRP was created. Because with the SWIFT system, all of the banks, payment providers, corporations, commercial banks need to hold $10 to $20 trillion in nostro-vostro accounts. It's parked money. It's parked capital that has to be parked all over the world to settle transactions because of this mess. And literally, XRP allows every institution in the world, including corporations, central banks, and everything, to literally take back that capital and use it for whatever they want it, instead of just having it parked all over the world to compensate for this clunky system. Like you can't settle transactions without XRP cross-border. You can't. Okay, like you can't do that with stablecoins. You can't do that with prime brokerages. You can't do that with ETFs. You can't do that with any of the companies and the alignments that Ripple is doing. You can't do it. Guys, you got to get that out of your head. You can't do that without XRP. If you think, you're wrong. If that's what you think, you're wrong.
And Delta Ghost Zero, who I know Delta Ghost Zero is a big Stellar and a big Zebec fan. Have you guys ever wondered why? Okay, now this is him talking. This is not me saying that this is not my opinion or whatever. Mm-hmm. This is his comment. Have you guys ever wondered why Solana continuously shuts down and they never fix the power outages? The crashes are intentional so they can, L the money when the network is down. Hey, maybe. I don't know. I can't, I cannot verify that, but that would be very interesting if that's the truth. Thank you, Delta Go Zero, for that. Root off topic, but are you familiar with the Canton Network? I noticed they have big investors, Goldman Sachs, ARK, Citadel, DNP, Polychain Capital. Any thoughts? I have heard that Canton has those type of connections. You know who also has those type of connections? This company with a very nondescript name, Digital Asset. It's just called Digital Asset. They, if I bring up a mind map I'll bring it up here in a couple seconds here. They always seem to name things like the DTCC that are very important. These very straightforward names. And so, yes, I had heard of Canton, and I don't think there's any way you can publicly invest in them. I think it's just that they're purely private. Had you heard of Canton before, Jesse?
Yeah, I've seen them in a few documents. They were I saw one document coming from a CBDC project with the BIS, where they were trying to say like Ethereum and Canton. They were talking about cross-border payments and instant liquidity, everything Ripple and Stellar do. And then they mentioned like Ripple, and then they mentioned Canton and Ethereum as well. And I was like, sorry, no. If they're doing cross-border instant liquidity, they're using XRP or Stellar. Like, I'm sorry, but yeah, I've heard the name, and they've been mentioned in some major projects just a few times. But aside from that, I don't know very much.
Canton's an interesting name. If you look into, I think that's where the Baseball Hall of Fame is, like Canton, Ohio, and very interesting. The state of Ohio. Ohio used to be kind of like Washington D.C. at one point, like Washington D.C. of our U.S. country, but that's another long story. But if you look here, this mind map I made for XCN, on it is City Ventures and a company called Digital Asset, which has Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, SBI Ventures, BlackRock, DTCC, and IBM connected to it. So Zero Hash just came out with a commercial and had Digital Asset is one of the members that they work with. Are you familiar with Zero Hash, Jesse?
No, I heard it before, but no. I heard
Okay,
it, but I don't know it very well. No.
So I hear that Zero Hash might be part of what connected to XRP and how they provide liquidity. Very interestingly enough, if you go on to Securitizes, we're on their site right now, they mentioned Zero Hash in their kind of like, I guess, disclaimer down here. And they also mentioned that Zero Hash and its liquidity services are licensed to engage in virtual business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. So I think there are some Zero Hash XRP type of connections. Might be something to look into there.
Yeah. Yeah, many of these projects, if you look at the RTGS, there's one called Global RTGS. That's the name of the organization. Many of these organizations or projects or whatever, a lot of them are using, Stellar XRP and other, like, mainly, for cross-border and all these different things, but they just go under different names. But could be an NDA, just a partnership they have with Ripple or Stellar, and they're building solutions on it. And there's thousands and thousands of tokens that are built on Ripple already that are launched on the XRP ledger, because you can launch a token and an IOU as well on or a liability on XRP ledger like nothing. Like, there's, I think, like, even years ago they mentioned there was already 5,000 tokens, 5,000 currencies. This was years ago on the XRP ledger.
Nice. So I didn't realize you guys.
And all these tokens too. They're being, like, these commercial bank solutions, these different tokens, these JP Morgan, Citibank token, all these different tokens that are being launched via the Quant Overledger and whatever. Like, this is all using blockchains like Stellar. A lot of them are going to be Stellar and XRP. Like, you can launch other tokens too, and like, there's many other blockchains you can do tokenization and launch tokens. But there's many different tokens that are being launched. Tokens of, like, private companies, right? Like Citi token, JP Morgan token, the McDonald token, Burger King token, KFC token, whatever, and air miles and different things, right? This is all being launched on blockchains, and we don't know all the time which one.
Right, and here's what I was telling you guys about Digital Asset. It's Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, SPI, Investment, Blackstone, DTCC, and IBM. All in this digital.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're connected to Stellar XRP, because that's insane. Look at the investors. SBI owns 90% of the banks in Japan. Blackstone. Then you've got the DCCC, which is literally settles like over $3,000 trillion per year. They're responsible for the DCCC and its subsidiaries. Literally settle like 90 to 99%. I think like 95 or more percent of all the derivatives market in the world. And they're settling over 3,000 trillion per year right now. It's going up 20% per year. It's my understanding. It's 3,000 quadrillion per year, 10 trillion per day, basically, the DCCC. And
That's
then
correct.
IBM. I mean, IBM. Literally, people researching IBM. IBM. People have no clue how powerful this company is. IBM is the company that provided. My understanding. Oh, now we're gonna say stuff I shouldn't say again. IBM provided technology to Hitler to number the Jews. Is my understanding.
I have also heard that.
I probably should
I've
have said.
also heard that.
Probably should have said. Okay, guys, that's not 100% sure. Okay, just
Yeah, we can't
just what I think.
neither we can't confirm nor deny that.
No, yeah, no, but I think if they look into it, they'll see.
And then let's see.
Imagine, and this. Oh my goodness, this one I shouldn't say. But I feel like saying it.
Go ahead.
The companies that we have today that are supposed to be, finding these cures for us, like the drug companies we have, pharmaceutical companies today, are tied to technically the same companies that provided the gas for the chambers.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't say it.
No.
Okay. Yeah, don't say it. Okay, don't say that one. Okay. All right. But yeah, that one. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to show you guys too, along with like I was showing you here, I didn't realize you guys couldn't see it, but Zero Hash I was showing you with Securitize, they're in their little bylaws down here that they have liquidity services for Securitize, which of course, like Jesse was saying, the only people that can provide global liquidity services are Ripple, and licensed to the virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. And then if you look at Securitize and their investors, you see that Ripple is one, along with SBI.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ripple's an investor in Securitize.
So that makes sense. Go ahead.
I know Securitize uses XRP. There's no doubt about it.
So it makes sense here that Zero Hash may be like some type of subsidiary of Ripple or something, but it seems like they're tied into their liquidity services for sure. So let's see here.
Look at Securitize. It's crazy. Circle, NTT Data, and Everest are the ones that produce the document, the Internet of Value document that I always show, that people have been showing for 8 years. It's not a new document, but the document that leaked out from the Hyperledger Foundation, which is now called the Decentralized Trust, where it laid out how they're going to build the Internet of Value, and you see XRP being the global RTGS connecting all central banks. And it says that the XRP ledger is the global RTGS, and it's also the global liquidity marketplace. That document was actually produced by NTT Data and Everest.
Okay, where are they at? Where are they at in this list?
Right there.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, and SBI Holding owns 10% of 9 or 10% of Ripple, and they also own the biggest shareholder in R3.
Yeah, and you can see here too, Blockchain Capital is also a holder or owner of Ripple.
BlackRock at the top.
And BlackRock here at the top. Yes, indeed. So
Avalabs, yeah, Coinbase, yeah, oh yeah,
and definitely global because they have Nomura and MFUG here. Mitsuki Fusan, so they're definitely global here. Sony, so
yeah.
Interesting there. So let's go back to the questions here. Okay, I don't know if Jesse knows this, but why does World Liberty Financial hold things like Tron, Ethereum, AVAX, and Ondo, but no XRP and ZBCN? Just curious.
Yeah. So do they have to make public if they hold XRP or ZBCN? They probably do, right?
Yes, well, there's a blockchain called Arkham where you can look at what's in their wallet, and they don't have XRP or ZBCN in there. But
Okay.
we do know that the crypto czar through a company called Craft Ventures is invested in ZBCN, and we also know that Trump has met with XRP multiple times. So
To me, it would be crazy if Trump and his, his family are not holding XRP one way or another. To me, there's no possible way that they're not holding XRP. If there's anybody that knows about XRP, it's his family. And so, yeah, maybe they're not holding it through the WFI. They're just holding it personally or through other subsidiaries or something or other companies. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's not public or something, but I would assume that it has to be public if World Liberty, because I haven't researched the World Liberty. I haven't researched it enough, so I'm just curious. Anyways, to me, I think they're holding it one way or another. Maybe WLFI is not holding it, but I'd be surprised if they're not. Maybe they don't have to disclose it. I'm not sure if is it a public company? It's a public company, right?
yeah,
So it would need to be disclosed. Yeah, it's a very
yeah,
good
if they
question.
bought it through there, I think it needs to be disclosed. But
Yeah.
technically, since cryptocurrencies aren't securities, they don't. Public officials do not have to disclose if they own them.
So they only have to make public their income then, right? Their profits, right? If it's a public corporation, they would just have to disclose their income and profits at the end of the year. They wouldn't have to discuss. Would they have to disclose their exact holdings and the exact assets, or just the? I'm just curious because
As far as I understand it, public officials only have to disclose what securities they own, and they have a
no.
certain
Sorry, I
amount
mean a
of time.
public company. No, I mean a corporation like
Oh, of
WLFI, a
course.
corporation. Are they forced to say exactly what assets they hold, or they only have to disclose to their shareholders their profits, their income and profits? I'm not sure because basically the reason I'm asking this is okay, to me there's only two options here. Is maybe they don't have to disclose it and it's not disclosed, or WLFI actually doesn't own any, but the Trump family definitely owns XRP. There's no way they don't own XRP. So, but it's a very
Right,
good
I
question.
agree. I agree. Yeah, I don't think they have to disclose what earnings they have or what they hold, but I know that on Arkham they have a wallet that they've exposed to the public, kind of,
Okay.
in which how much like they'll say they bought this amount of Tron or this amount of this, and that wallet, as far as Arkham goes, people know what that wallet is
Okay.
and what it holds.
You might have other wallets, maybe, or maybe
Yeah,
WLFI owns another corporation that bought XRP. For me, again, like I said, there's no way that Trump and his family are not holding XRP one way or another. That's a very good question.
and then a young channel who has some criticism for us here. I subscribe to this young channel. Hopefully, we'll have him on one day too. Shout out Crypto Promised Land. He says this dude's full of crap, and he says Linea and Swift are a real thing. How foolish. I think you misunderstand Crypto Promised Land. We're not saying that Linea and Swift aren't going to be used, but that they're going to replace XRP. That's not happening. That's what we're saying. I'm not looking to put. I'm not trying to put any roads in your mouth there, Jesse.
No,
But
it's
that's
okay.
that's my view on it.
Well, no, it's 100%.
Okay,
That's just what we're saying. Swift is not going to use Linea for cross-border payments. That's foolishness.
here we go. Yep.
But a lot of people don't even know what cross-border means. They don't even know when we say cross-border, it means going from one type of asset to another type of asset using a bridge asset. You need liquidity. So instead of using the US dollar, because it's one of the most liquids, and going through all this intermediary bank system, and with 7% error rate, it's so clunky, it takes a week to settle. You have to have nostro offshore accounts all over the world. This big mess. You don't even know where the payment's at any time. You only know if the payment reached its destination when it reached it. They don't even know where the payment's at. You send a payment, you gotta wait a week or two to know if it hit the other account with a 7% error rate. People think like
Oh, that's terrible.
it's like 80 years ago you sent a letter and somebody jumped on a horse, sent a letter. You didn't know if they got the letter. No, I'm serious. They didn't know if you got the
Yeah,
letter.
yeah,
The person
yeah.
came back with another letter, say, hey, we your loved one got the letter. Here's their letter. It's that's what the SWIFT system is. It's just a joke. So
I'm laughing because, like, think about that right now. Like, we send emails, and it's just like we don't even think about,
yeah,
like, back in the day when someone had to send a letter by freaking, like, by mail, by
Yep.
horse and buggy, like, literally, and there's no guarantee that the mailman delivered, so to speak. You know what I mean?
But this guy, I'm actually being nice today because usually I would I would not tolerate. No, but not this comment. That's fine. It's the previous comment, right? It's taking a low. It's okay. No, he doesn't understand. First of all, cross border. Most people don't even understand that cross border means you're going from one asset to another. You're using a bridge asset for that liquidity so that you can send a payment to another country with your currency, and that other person, that other country, or that corporation, that company can receive whatever currency they want. They want their currency. They don't want your currency. So you send them a payment. It goes through Ripple. It goes from XRP, again, I send this 100 times. From US dollar, for example, to XRP to peso. From US dollar to XRP to literally UK pound, whatever. It can be Mexican pesos, Filipino pesos, whatever. Doesn't matter. Or yuan, it can be whatever currency, right? That's what cross-border. When they say cross-border, they mean you're going from one type of currency to another. And so this is why this guy thinks like, oh no, Linea can do that. It can't do that. If you think you can do it, I'm not foolish. It's you're lacking knowledge in what cross-border means and what it takes to have cross-border. I'm not
And
foolish. You're lacking knowledge in a certain area and you think we're foolish.
believe me, Tammy Camp, who's Stronghold, and Stronghold works with XRP and Stellar, she's described this many times too, exactly what Jesse is saying. Like, we work with WorldWire for Stellar, and literally you can send one thing on one end and have it come out in the other person's currency. Like, you can send US dollars, have it come out pesos. You can send US dollars, have it come out New Zealand, whatever they use, right? And Linea and Ethereum don't do this.
Ethereum is not a bridge asset. Linea is not a bridge asset. Anything that's going to be built on Ethereum is not a bridge asset. So let me correct this guy here. Because he probably didn't even listen to what we said at the beginning. Or maybe we're explaining and he closed his ears on purpose because he didn't want to hear it. I'm not sure. But basically, in order to be a cross-border asset, in order to provide global liquidity and be a bridge asset, we'll use XRP, for example. You need the XRP ledger. You need the Interledger protocol. You need the decentralized order book. You need the order book that the XRP ledger has. You need the decentralized exchange that Ripple has, that XRP ledger has. You need to have RippleNet for the liquidity, global liquidity, all the partnerships providing the liquidity. You need the multi-hop technology, the multi-pat hop where it finds the technology. You need everything the XRP ledger has. Ethereum is not a purposely built bridge asset. It doesn't have any of those things. It doesn't have 90% of those things that it needs to be a purpose-built bridge asset for cross-border. And no other blockchain built on Ethereum is going to do it because the underlying infrastructure is just not there. Okay, so you're lacking knowledge in what it takes to be global liquidity and cross-border assets. We're not foolish. You're just lacking knowledge. And even if it had all those things, even if Ethereum had all of those things tomorrow morning, Ethereum doesn't have the network and the liquidity. It doesn't have the liquidity pair. You'd have to have Ethereum be paired with every single asset in the world or every currency in the world to be able to do, and you need the liquidity pools. And it took 10 years for XRP to build that liquidity via RippleNet. So respectfully, you don't know what you're talking about.
And I'll see if I can pull it up here. Because Tammy Camp addressed this like multiple times in which she said that this is what Stronghold is hoping to kind of do. But I'll see if I can find that while we do some more questions here.
And if Linea is going to replace XRP, Swift going to use Linea instead of XRP. I would like this person to explain to us why Ripple and Stellar are the only blockchain companies on the governance and steering committee the steering body, the governance body for the ISO 20022, which is a SWIFT standard for cross-border payments. Ripple and Stellar are the only blockchain companies on the literally governance body. Go and research what governance body means, or a steering committee. Go and research what that means. Okay, and then you tell me if it's Linea or Ethereum or any other blockchain that are literally sitting on the standard setting body for SWIFT. And first of all, go and see what the ISO 20022 means as well.
Okay. Yeah, Crypto Promised Land taking some arrows in the chat from people. You were on Paul Barron, Jesse?
Yeah, I was twice. I was on Paul Barron. I was.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it was really cool because it was cool, but it was nerve-wracking because at first I thought it was going to be on the Paul Barron network with like 2 million people, 2 million subscribers. But it's the Paul Barron podcast. So
Okay.
because all his interviews he does on the podcast, like he does them on the network too as well. But yeah, I was twice. It was really cool. It was really cool, man. Because I only had my channel 3 months when I was invited, and I was the first one on his XRP podcast.
That's awesome,
Crazy.
man.
I wasn't even touching on the ground. I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? Paul Barron Network. It's officially the biggest crypto technology media network in the world right now.
Yeah,
The
I
most
really
reputable,
respect.
the most reputable. There are other
Yeah, I really
people-
respect him.
He's super humble, because I'll tell you, like the interview he did with the Solana manager the other day, he was professional. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, if he goes and he ever been on Paul Barron Network, yeah, I was twice. Very fortunate, very blessed to be on his network. So I just was about 4 or 5 days ago. It aired on the, if you look at the Paul Barron XRP podcast, Paul Barron podcast, because he has a YouTube, he has a network, Paul Barron Network, and he has the Paul Barron podcast. So there's 2 different YouTube channels. I was on the podcast twice, but the last one was just aired about 7 days ago, roughly. And I explained everything about the IMF there. Went on a little rant.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check that out. Guys, check that out. Let's see.
He's super
here.
cool, man. It's so awesome. He's super cool. Yeah. But the guy recently from Solana, the Solana manager, went there with an attitude. Oof, did you see that?
No, did he?
Oh my goodness. Oh no, he was very disrespectful. And sorry for anybody that's big on Solana. We're talking Zebec, so Solana, but I mean nothing bad about Solana, but the manager, the marketing manager, the marketing guy went on Paul Barron recently, and he went in there with he was dead set that XRP was trash. Literally. Like, I mean, he went in there on the defense, and he wasn't even looking at Paul in the eyes when he was asking questions. He was cutting him off. He was literally just shooting. Like, he was not respect. No, it was bad. It was bad. And everybody saw, like, holy crap, Paul is very professional, because most people would have insulted him, I think. They would have kicked him off the show. Oh, no, it was not good.
I think some people are mentioning that in the chat too.
Oh,
that's crazy.
I was gonna do a video about it. I was so pissed. How can you be invited in a Paul Barron network? Like, you're on his show, buddy. Like, be respectful, because it's one of the most respected networks in the world, and you're not even. He's like this, not even looking at him, and then he asks him questions sometimes, like, what? He's like brushing him off. It was like, I'm telling you, man, it was not good. It was bad. And
okay, one from Shook Focus Digital. Shout out to Shook Focus. What does Jesse think about the old tale of XRP in gold and XLM in silver?
Yeah, could be. I see XRP as a global stablecoin. I mean, it's a global stablecoin. It's the ESDR, electronic special drawing rights, the new SDR, the ESDR, and a global stablecoin at the same time. Stellar, and XRP are global stablecoins. And I did a deep dive on how I found a document coming from the International Organization for Securities, and it's talking about this hypothetical scenario where a private company would issue a coin that would be cross-border in nature, It would be backed by a basket of currencies. It would help with cross-border payments. It would numerous financial. It describes Ripple to the T, and technically Stellar as well, but describes Ripple to the T. Everything it does. It would be super liquid with exchanges, and money market makers and liquidity providers would help with the liquidity and distribution, all this stuff. And then it says that all of major financial institutions all over the world would be holding currencies, that would be holding different assets that would be backing this global stablecoin. And the value of all of these different assets that are be held in different with global financial institutions collectively would be called the reserve fund. So this token, this global stablecoin, would be backed by numerous, it talks about debt instruments, liquid assets, very liquid assets, and something else. And again, and all those assets combined would be equal to the value of the tokens in circulation. Now, we talked about how these assets were highly liquid. And at the time, I was like, well, gold is not really considered highly liquid. But then I did a collab with Max. I did many of them. And Max pulled out this document where the Basel III had now classified gold as a high quality liquid asset. And this document showed that this new global stablecoin would be backed by liquid assets, very liquid assets, and stable assets, and debt instruments. Well, debt instruments, my understanding is corporate debt and government debt alone is like $550 trillion. So, anyways, it talks about global stablecoin, and it describes Ripple to the T, describes XRP to the T. It's one of my first videos on my UAT playlist. I was freaking out because I remembered that I had that document from 4 years ago. I had the document and completely forgot about it. I started my channel, completely forgot I had that document. And then like 6 months into my channel, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got this freaking document that I found. And I was freaking out when I was like, oh my goodness, guys, you gotta watch this. Yeah, so I see it. Yeah, because I see it backed by commodities, global stablecoin backed by something. Because it's a new Bretton Woods, right? And you saw earlier how the IMF is talking about a new Bretton Woods. Now, if we look at the original Bretton Woods was a global reserve currency backed by gold. So if we have a new Bretton Woods, this new world currency, or call it a new global stablecoin or the ESDR, should be backed by something, possibly gold or a basket of commodities, or like I said, backed by CBDCs or whatever. But if we look at the old Bretton Woods and they say they're creating a new Bretton Woods that's based on DLT technology, I think it's backed one way or another. It's kind of how I see it.
Okay, and then I got some more dissension here. He's ignoring that Swift and Linea are actually doing stuff. He's ignoring XLR, Chainlink, and SmartCon. You wanna tackle
XLR,
that?
Yeah, sure. XLR is for cross chain. Okay, so the 4 different interoperabilities exist. Quant, any legacy systems connects to any blockchain, and also cross blockchain interoperability of almost anything. Chainlink is mainly interoperability for data, bridging data. It's an oracle. It's not a bridge currency. It's an oracle. It bridges data.
Yeah, and to note there too, XLR actually connects into the XRP ledger through Wormhole. It's also the XRP ledgers. The way that Ethereum connects to the XRP ledger, because XLR has a EVM, a customized EVM that works through Cosmos that connects it to the to XRP. I can bring that up for you as well. And Chainlink also provides Oracle Oracle data to XRP ledger. So all of these things connect to the XRP ledger.
Yeah, so XLR is cross-chain. It allows to do cross-chain. It's not a bridge asset. It allows to do cross-chain, moving assets from one chain to another, or allowing an asset to reside on another blockchain. Allows an asset to reside on multiple blockchains. It's cross-chain. Chainlink is an oracle that brings in data from the real world and brings it to blockchain. So, for example, if you have a smart contract and you say, listen, if you have a smart contract and the smart contract says, if the weather is over 30 degrees tomorrow, and if this person wins the presidency in this country, and if Google stock goes down 10%, well, I want to sell my Google stocks and I want to buy some Amazon stocks. Okay, I want to do this. The smart contract says I'm going to do this if this and this and this happens in the real world. Oracle is bridging the data from the real world, is bringing the information to the blockchain, so the blockchain can know what the hell is going on in the real world. So, and let's say this process involved, let's say that the transaction of selling Google stock to an Amazon stock required XRP for the settlement, because you're going from asset to another asset instantly. Let's say they want to use XRP for instant settlement there. When Oracle brings in the data to the real world, to the blockchain, to the smart contract, and say this and this and this and this happened, so boom, execute the transaction. Well, you could settle through XRP, let's say. But Oracle is mainly a bridge. Now, it's just bringing data from the real world to the smart contracts, to the blockchains. That's what it does. Now there are some diagrams that they've shown, like E Hong Kong dollar with the Swift CCIP connecting to another central bank currency. So I do acknowledge that there are those documents that exist, but I don't know if they're real documents or what the heck they're talking about. But it's bridging data. Like Chainlink is not a bridge currency and doesn't provide liquidity to go from one asset to another. So I don't know if this document that they're showing, CCIP connecting a CBDC and acting as this is settlement, I don't know if this is document that that the Chainlink community just fabricated out of thin air, or if it's an actual document, but it's not necessarily. It's more focusing on the actual data bridging between the CBDC or what the heck that is. All I know is that Chainlink is not a bridge currency.
Well, I want to play this for you guys. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking, which is like the XRP ledger is why we're here. It's what's important. And that's true. But I just want to point out, in the early days, we celebrated every exchange listing. That is not an XRP ledger thing, right? People who hold tokens on exchanges, they're not using the ledger, but they're using XRP. And I'm hoping that we can see the XRP LEVM sidechain. Oh, announcement. It has a name. I wanted to call it Niobium. I lost. It is called the XRP LEVM sidechain. I know that's what everybody was calling it anyway, but that is actually its name. That is a bona fide announcement. I'm not lying. It is actually going to be called the XRP LEVM sidechain. I want you to think of that as a true part of the XRP ecosystem. XRP will be its native token, and it will be able to address that long tail of use cases. And if we have asset portability, I think we should think, I hope we can think of it as part of the XRP ecosystem, and that the XRP is not just the XRP ledger. Maybe that's too much to ask. So Axelar is going to provide the bridge for the native token. Anybody who wants to can provide other bridges for other tokens, but you do have to have one bridge for the native token, the gas token. That's going to be provided by Axelar. It's going to use a proof of authority consensus. It'll have a block explorer, and you'll be able to use traditional EVM wallets. It will be a traditional EVM chain. One of the advantages of being able to launch projects on the EVM sidechain is the development cycle is much faster. So it took, 2 years to bring AMMs onto the XRP ledger? Let's say somebody said, hey, I want to do securities derivatives with leverage trading and some other weird thing on it, over collateralization, blah, blah, blah. You could maybe launch that on the XRP ledger in a year. You could launch that on an EVM sidechain in probably 2 months, and it's much easier to find developers. So we have to be realistic. For that long tail of projects, if we don't have a place inside our ecosystem for those projects to go, they're going to go elsewhere. And so we should be inclusive.
Wow. All the money.
So right there, right? It's like, and later on, this is from I think last year, and then later on we get the whole thing with Wormhole and XLR. So it was already there that they hooked up XLR to be the EVM kind of bridge. So now Ethereum can bridge over to the XRP ledger, and that's right there in David Schwartz's words. So, anything to add to that, Jesse?
No, I mean, I think we answered his question. Maybe not what he wanted to hear, but
right. So that shows you right there that it's the other way around. That Linea is actually bridging to XRP via XLR.
Anything that does cross-border instant settlement, the Swift is going to has to either use Stellar or XRP. Okay,
Yep.
like I said, if he
Yep.
doesn't understand that, rewind and listen to what I said, listen to it 100 times, and start researching more, and you'll see. Like
Right.
I made it very
Now,
clear for him.
now this is not to say that Linea is not going to be used for Ethereum, for that whole, just for Ethereum. And of course, we know Ethereum connects to JP Morgan, which is one of the biggest banks in the world. So again, this doesn't have to be a fight, right? This is still, it's still connecting to JP Morgan, one of the biggest banks in the world. But
I'm not. Yeah,
what is
sorry.
being used for cross-border payments or for you know what I mean, cross asset communication? XRP.
Cross asset settlement. Sorry. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Settlement, yeah.
Yep.
Because if you say
So-
yeah. But I said the same thing on Paul Barron. I said I'm not saying that the Ethereum, because I was talking about Swift and where he asked me the question. He wasn't disagreeing with me. He just asked me to explain about the Swift, Linea, Ethereum. And I said I'm not saying that Ethereum and Linea are not going to be used for something, but it's not going to be used for cross-border payments and that global liquidity, that settlement, bridge asset. It's not happening. It is not happening. You don't even
Right,
have the
so-
liquidity. Even if you had everything else, you don't have the liquidity. But people don't know what it means, really, like what it means to really cross-border, what it actually means. Because when they say cross-border, I think most people in their minds like, oh, you're just sending money to another country. But no, it's like you're going from one asset to another. Most of the time, you're actually converting from one asset to another. When they say cross-border, they say it that way, so most people don't realize what it really is. But you're going from one asset to the other. You're sending a payment to another country, but they want their own currency. They don't want your currency. They want their currency. So you need a bridge asset to settle. But most people don't realize that. And then also they don't realize everything that's needed to be that bridge asset. How long it takes to build out the network and what the technology you need. You need the XRP ledger. You need everything, like I said earlier. I explained everything you need. And Linea and Ethereum and all these other blockchains don't even have not even 5%, 10% of what Stellar and XRP have that is required to have that. And even if they did, you still have to build out the network and you still need the liquidity. You need all the pairs. Like it's just not gonna happen.
All right, guys. This is definitely just to say here a little call to action. Definitely like and subscribe to both channels if you haven't already. I put Jesse's channel in the chat twice here, and I'll bring it back up here for you guys to see. And definitely,
Apex Crypto Insights.
Definitely,
Crypto Insights. Yeah.
here we're showing it here now. And definitely, if you haven't liked and subscribed to,
yeah, that's one. Sorry, yeah.
Yep. If you haven't liked and subscribed to Blackrue Investing, my channel, what are you doing? Huh?
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, no, I couldn't figure out why I was seeing shorts because I have another channel. It's just for shorts, but I'm not publishing it on it much. I was just wondering why there were shorts. It's just because it was, yeah, cool.
Okay,
It was
no
showing
worries.
both channels. Yeah. Yeah, definitely subscribe to Rue.
Let's
Heck are
see
you doing
here.
if you're not signed up to Rue, anyways. I'm just kidding, guys. Nice. I really appreciate you having me, man.
No problem.
Sorry, I've been ranting 90% of the time, though.
No. That's we love that.
I always
We love
talk more
that.
than the other person, so I feel so bad. I always go in these rants and.
No, man. I'm loving it. Hey guys, big fan of you both, and Max. Can we get a price prediction for XLM for 2025, 2026, 2030?
I'm terrible with these price predictions because I like 7-8 years ago I thought XRP was gonna I thought years ago XRP was gonna explode, and that's why I think the price is being suppressed somehow. There's no way. The reason I think that they're controlling the price for now, suspecting that it's for now it's being suppressed until they're ready, is because 7 years ago, before when RippleNet was just starting, they literally had almost like no banks connected. At the end of 2017, December 2017. At the very, very end, the price went to almost $4. It went to like $3. I think it was like, I think it was like over $3 with like almost no banks. And then they admitted they had 200 banks connected. And then they admitted they were connecting 2 to 3 banks per week, which is literally 100 to 150 banks per year. This is 8 years ago. So that alone is 800 to 1,200 banks. Plus, we know they're using Swift. We know they're connected with the DTCC. We know they're powering the FedNow, Bank of England, IMF, so on and so forth. And the price is barely moved. The price didn't even hit its all-time high that it hit 8 years ago when literally no banks were connected. So how the heck can the price be at at 50 cents for all this time, and now finally $2.50. It doesn't make sense for me. So I think maybe it's the private networks. A lot of stuff's happening on the private networks. Once it starts, I need to do a deep dive on that. Actually, I have it ready. Like RippleNet is a private network. David Schwartz admitted that RippleNet is a private network. So, but I think when the volume cranks up, they're going to have to go and get the XRP off the exchanges or liquidity providers or market makers. Like it will hit, they will either, go get the liquidity XRPs. It'll need to either go get it on the exchanges or on the XRP ledger itself. But RippleNet itself is a private network. So we wouldn't see what's happening on RippleNet. It's a private network.
Okay, so Nick Overby 3084. That was a question from him. Okay, so I'll take a stab at it. So 2025, if we can get the three things that I mentioned before, if we can get the ETFs, the Clarity Act, or whatever the hell they're calling it now, the crypto market bill or whatever, and and then of course ISO 20022 on 11/22 on 11 days. So very apt for what's going on right now. We're on 11/11. So if we can get ISO in 11 days. So this is the perfect day for us to do the show, Jesse. So we can get that in 11 days. I'm gonna go with the Jake Claver over $100 XRP. And if XRP is over $100, I think Stellar probably is a third of that, which is $30. So that'll be like 2025, early 2026. A prediction for me, 2030. I can't even say out that far. I'll just do the 2020, late 2025, late 20 or early 2026 prediction. So whenever the Clarity Act hits, and probably about 3 months after that, if we haven't gotten to $100 XRP, I'd be really surprised. And that would mean a $30 Stellar.
But Jay Claver, that's not really what Jay Claver. Jay Claver said like ETFs is what he's saying, maybe 100, 3-digit. He's saying that if everything else happens, he's calling for a $2,000 XRP at the end of the year. So I just wanted people to know, like, Rue is not technically saying that XRP is going to go to 2,000 by the end of the year, because that's what Jake is actually saying.
Correct. I need all three of what I just said to happen to get over $100 XRP.
But Jake Claver is talking thousands, though.
Yeah, he is. He was.
Because earlier you said, when you answered it, you said, I'm gonna say Jake Claver.
No. I get you referring that. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, I'm saying actually over $100. Yeah, Jake did say 4-digit. He did say 4-digit. He went as far as to say 4-digit. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that, brother.
No problem. I agree with that. With what you said, 100%.
Thank you. Let's see. I am Greg Humphreys. I'm a XRP and Zebec holder. It always feels like power is above holding the price down because they're put in the same basket. Yeah, just like we were saying there, like there does seem to be some price suppression, especially for XRP to me. Ask him where he get that info that Fed now is running on Ripple from, please, and thank you.
Just 1 second to clear my throat. Yeah, so Ripple was, I think. So first of all, Ripple was the chosen for the Faster Payment Task Force and the Faster Payments Council in the U.S., which is connected to the Fed now. So they did a massive report on, I think it was the Faster Payments Council or Faster Payment Task Force in like 2018 or 2020, or many years ago anyways. And so they had all these different tech companies all came together working for the Faster Payment Initiative for the FedNow system, the new FedNow system. And when they did the report stated that only Ripple had the technology that they needed in order to help with this, liquidity, cross-border, fast payments, all this stuff. So, and then, I think I did a deep dive on this, but we see, we also see documents that FedNow is literally, a lot of the different tech companies working with FedNow are literally connecting via APIs to the XRP ledger. So if you look at Cialis, Nacha, all these companies that are literally the infrastructure for FedNow, they're all connected to the XRP ledger. But yeah, I wish I'd have to do a deep dive to show, but definitely FedNow, and also the Federal Reserve, the former Federal Reserve guy, or the one that's Federal Reserve now, just admitted that. Who was it? What's his name? Anyways, he admitted we're working with Ripple. Oh, and James Wallace of Ripple, the head of CBDC relations, government relations for Ripple, admitted that they're working with Federal Reserve. And again, Ripple has a private CBDC platform where central banks can launch their CBDCs. I know I'm not explaining the best, but because I don't have documents in front of me, but definitely FedNow, XRP is on the Faster Payment Task Force, Faster Payments Council. They're chosen Faster Payments Council, which is again tied to FedNow initiative to modernize the payment system for the U.S. And David Schwartz also explained that you need to have seamless payment within a country in order for it to be really efficient cross-border too, because you're not going to have much cross-border if the payment system within the country is all clunky. You need to have it all seamless and very fluid and liquid within the country so that these transactions can settle instantly, and then when they need to go cross-border, they can now go cross-border via the XRP ledger. But you need the national payment system to be efficient as well in order for this whole internet of value and this cross-border internet of value to flourish. And this is why the IMF has been tasked with managing and really monitoring different nations on how they're basically ramping up and fixing their national payment systems. So, and these national payment systems, a lot of them is technically their CBDCs, right? The CBDC is built on the XRP ledger, private version of the public XRP ledger, and then the commercial banks issue their tokens and their solutions on top of the CBDC, because it's all about bringing solutions to the CBDCs, bringing use cases, for the CBDCs. But no, FedNow is connected to XRP in numerous different ways. I'm going to have to do a deep dive on that, but definitely FedNow is using the XRP ledger.
Rue is King, thank you, Crypto Promised Land. What benefits does using XRP have over Zebec? Well, there are two different purposes. Zebec is only a protocol in which they're trying to onboard. As soon as people get paid, they get streaming payments, and then from the streaming payments, they can use their super app to either spend their money via their Zebec card or via the super app to do X amount of things, payday loans, maybe possibly even some DeFi, other things, right? But XRP is for, like we were saying, cross-border transfer of value, and so there's two different missions there.
Yeah, and so Zebec would bring utility to XRP, and XRP would bring utility to Zebec. So, for example, if Zebec needs to do a cross-border with XRP now, Zebec can bring all of their solutions globally, because if they want to basically now build other solutions that are cross-country, now they can use XRP to settle that cross-border payment. So if a company in the US has some employees overseas or remittances or whatever, Zebec could build a solution where they would use XRP for settlement when they're sending the payment overseas, cross-border, cross-asset.
And again, like we referenced today, Zebec and XRP have mutual investors. So, and we've also heard the CEO Simon Babakani say that they have connections to the RLUSD, and we already know that Zebec has investors from Circle. We know they can use the Circle USDC, and we know that Circle USDC is on the XRP ledger. So,
And they're also part of ARC testnet, Circle's ARC testnet.
Yep. Thank you, brother.
Which is like 100 institutions, including BlackRock and major institutions. So they're part of that network for Circle's ARC's testnet. With, like you said, Circle uses XRP for settlement. He's always talking about the internet value, and Jeremy Allaire said, we could use, Brad's company to scale up our payments. And yeah, Jeremy Allaire is all over Ripple.
And thank you, Crypto Promised Land, for the $10 super, the $9.99 super chat. And Pharmacopoeia, thank you, Brother Rue. And then let's see. Big Mike 90069. What do you think about Bank Social? Any thoughts on Bank Social?
No,
Jesse?
no, I don't know much of it. I've heard of BSL, but I don't know nothing about that one.
I looked into it very, very shortly. It seems like they have a banking app on the phone, kind of similar to like they're kind of in the same realm of Metallicus, but kind of lower scale for Hedera. So on Hedera, or they're built on Hedera, and they have connections to Jack Henry, which also Metallicus has connections to Jack Henry and Timimos. And Timimos is one of the big guys that kind of connects into the XRP ledger.
Yeah. Temenos is a long-time partner. This was announced like 2018, Temenos. And yeah, Temenos is big, and they use XRP for settlement.
Yep. So Metallicus connects into those guys, and Metallicus also has a partner of Jack Henry, and Jack Henry also connects with BSL, and BSL is built on Hedera. Hedera with companies like what is it? Security,
Securency, I think.
Securrency, yeah. And Securrency, I think, also has some connections to XRP, don't they?
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tip, buddy. That's all going to Rue. Don't be shy. He needs to buy more XRP.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
We all do. We all do.
Right? Let's see here.
QNT too, and Zebec, whatever, man. There's so many of them, but Zebec, QNT, XRP, XDC, HBAR, XLM.
Let's see. Do we
Well,
would it make sense for Uber to partner with both Ripple or Zebec?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, good, yeah. Probably, yeah. If they want to pay their let's say they want to pay their drivers every day, or maybe they want to pay them every time they do a drive. Every time they drive a customer, boom, they pay them right on the spot. You drop off the customer, confirm that you dropped them off, boom, you get paid your commission right there. So you do that, pay them at the end of the day, maybe every day or every customer. You would use Zebec, right, for that.
Yep, and shout out to Max. Me and Max did a show on just that thing, like Uber partnering with Zebec. Yeah, I could totally see that. Big Mike again with a $2 super chat, 199. ISO 222 can have up to 10K characters.
Yeah, that's a lot of data. That's data rich. That's what I was saying earlier, right? It's very data rich. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of information. But imagine they're standardizing that across the board. It took them 21 years to do it because they started in 2004. The ISO 20022 started in 2004. They've been working on it for 21 years. But the final cutoff, they pushed it a few times. But this time they pushed it to November 22nd. They said, we're not pushing it again. And again, who's doing that is the BIS, is the Central Bank for International Settlements, is the central banks for all central banks. They're the ones who decide. That's the big honcho.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on XDC and why is it so valued? Can you speak to its future potential in the space?
Yeah, I did a few deep dives on XDC. I would really encourage people to watch those deep dives where I'm explaining the R3 XDC connection and the difference between XDC and XRP, right? Because a lot of people are thinking like with R3, it's only going to be XRP. It's not going to be used. It's only going to be XDC. It's not going to be used XDC. So XDC is really that blockchain for global trade. They're literally, it's massive, and they're tokenizing everything. Literally, XDC is a network to tokenize everything that has to do with blockchain. So anything that has to do with global trade. So trade documents, purchase orders, contracts, the insurance on the shipping containers, the insurance for the products, the letters of credit, letters of finance, everything that has to do with shipping, they're tokenizing that on the XDC network. And so because it's tokenized and it's on the blockchain, now it can be verified, settled, confirmed instantly. And so it's a massive use case, and it's a hybrid network as well. So it's like a private and public version, I think. But it's a hybrid network, and also what was I going to say there? Well, it's massive. It's the blockchain for global trade. But when they want to settle, any of these contracts need to settle instantly, again, because if you're going cross border, because a lot of payments that involve global trade are cross border payments, you need that liquidity. That's where XRP is going to come in. So XRP and XDC are very complementary, because XRP helps to settle those transactions instantly, Stellar as well, and then so that's beneficial for XRP. It brings utility to XRP, but at the same time, it complements XDC too, because now XDC can offer that instant cross-border payment, instant liquidity, instant settlement to all their clients. So, but it's really, they're tokenizing every document that involves global trade. And the other thing why it's really big is because right now, like the boats, I didn't know this until I started researching XDC, but years ago, I did a lot of digging XDC years ago. So what happens is these big cargo boats are literally stuck at the port for a month sometimes, just waiting on the paperwork to process. Because you need insurance on the cargo. You need all the cargo that's on the boat needs to be accounted for, paid for, financed. This is all being done through commercial banks and everything. So the financing for all the different products, the merchants, the contracts, the purchase orders, everything on that boat. There's there's tons and tons of paperwork involved. So if you tokenize it all and you put it on the blockchain, now you can basically move that process really, really quick. Because everything's going through the blockchain now. So when the contract comes in, it's automatically confirmed, like, because it's decentralized, right? So it's going to confirm the contract, confirm that the insurance is in place, confirm that the payment came true, confirm that the letters of credits are all signed and executed, confirm, rather than taking a month to do all that. So it removes all the clunky paperwork and all the intermediaries and millions of people trying to verify the documents and confirming and all this BS, because it's all in the blockchain. It's all instant verification. So instead of the boat being parked in the port for a few extra weeks or a month waiting for the paperwork to be confirmed, it might take 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 days or 4 days rather than take a month.
And that's interesting you say that, because I didn't know. I knew that they were involved in trade finance, but I guess I didn't think about trade finance being involved with shipping, because shipping is a big thing. The Onassis family, Jackie Onassis, they were big moguls in shipping.
Nice.
One of the things I did. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
One of the things I didn't realize also about XDC was that it was a fork of Ethereum, so it already works with Ethereum. Knowing that XRP is a XRP connects into base now, then it seems to me that it'd be really easy to now just use XDC via base with XRP for XDC.
Or through R3 corridor as well. But I did a few deep dives on, if people go through my XRP playlist, I did a few deep dives, XDC versus XRP, where I explain and I show the use cases, and I use Grok 3 to break it down for me a bit more. I don't know where it is, but if you go under my playlist there, the XRP Ledger one on the left, that one there. Oh no!
Hey, my friend.
No, scroll down. But anyways, if they scroll down on my playlist, no.
Oops, that's not it. Okay, here we go.
Right, scroll down more. Right. So right there, scroll up a bit. Sorry, tiny bit. So right there is the Ripple R3. That's a really important one. I had 3-part series of Ripple and R3. That was crazy. But I'm not sure. It's there somewhere. Sorry, but if they go there, it'll be very simple. It's XRP versus XDC. Man.
There it is.
Undervalued. It's undervalued. Yeah, that one 3. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one was. I was explaining the difference because a lot of people think that, because XDC is tied to R3, R3 is going to use XDC for settlement and not XRP, and that's a misconception.
Okay.
They all complement each other. But again, XDC is not a purpose bridge asset. It's not a bridge asset. That's why it doesn't replace XRP.
Okay, and just putting these back up here. We already mentioned these.
This guy that guy just bought you 8 XRPs. The other guy just bought you 4 XRPs. Next time I'm hosting.
Yeah. Let's do it, man.
Kidding, buddy.
Let's do it. No, next Tuesday. Let's go.
No. I'm so teasing, man. Hosting.
I think you guys are underestimating spot XRP ETFs. Crypto is way more known and trusted than in the early Bitcoin days. We may not do 3 digits on ETFs alone, but the adoption is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
There's a lot of ETFs launching. A lot of them.
Yeah, there are a lot launching, but you don't necessarily see like the price instantly on that. That's why I'm saying like, okay, well, the Clarity Act, since they're already kind of dropping hints in these articles here, right, that I just showed you here, where banks are looking for that and need that clarity for them to really lean in. He's kind of hinting there. So I think it would probably be like those things, in conjunction. Let's see.
I just want to say right away, I just want everybody to know that RippleNet is fully compliant. When Ripple was being sued in this so-called bogus lawsuit, RippleNet itself, what all the banks are connected to, it was fully compliant. It was fully globally compliant with all of the global rules for cross-border payments. They were AML compliant, anti-money laundering compliant. They were KYC, know your customer compliant. So that's the 2 main rules for financial services. Plus, they have a global rule book that every participant of the network of RippleNet signs on to. They all agree to this global rule book. And we're seeing these CBDC projects all talking about a rule book. So it has a global rule book on top of that. And Ripple is also the company that created the Global Payment Steering Committee many years ago with RBC Bank, Royal Bank of Canada, and many other major global banks. So imagine Ripple is literally created the Global Payment Steering Committee. They're also sitting on the governance body for the ISO 20022, which is SWIFT standard for cross-border payments. They're literally sitting in the IMF, task force, Interoperability task force or whatever. They're literally, advising the IMF. They're literally sitting on the faster payment task force for the US, advising them, the Bank of England, so on and so forth. I mean, it's crazy. Go on and on. But I just want everybody to know. So while Ripple was acting as their uncertainty because of this lawsuit and the clarity, banks could still settle with RippleNet. They could still continue like nothing. Ripple was not worried. They wanted you to believe they were worried or that there was uncertainty, but RippleNet was fully compliant. which is the product that all the banks connect to, right? RippleNet. So I just want to point that out because here he's making it sound like, yes, for the ETFs and everything else, yes. But Brad Garlinghouse is not, he's rarely saying like, hey, RippleNet's fully compliant and we're not worried. He never says that. But and that's another thing that these other blockchains don't have. They're not AML necessarily compliant, KYC compliant, plus have a global rulebook that all the banks agree to. Linea doesn't have that. Ethereum doesn't have that.
Okay, and then we have from Dreamer, Canton Network actually went live on a few changes recently. So thank you for letting me know that. I didn't think that Canton had a token, but they do. And of course the ticker is CC 33. That has to be something. So definitely thanks for letting me know that, guys. Appreciate it. See here. Jetpack still questioning the rest in union thing. I don't know why. We addressed that one part You know, I love you though, Jetpack here. So Western Union experts made a mistake and chose the wrong one after testing with Ripple for years. Jesse really addressed that and went into that the partnership was only for a certain amount of millions. I also saw that somewhere else as well. Daniel, I always watch Jesse's videos too, even though he doesn't know it. LOL. And Maximus with Jesse as well. Let's see here. The other country doesn't want your currency, they want theirs, but you can send it, but it needs to be swapped. Yes, indeed. The Texas Stock Exchange, yeah, that's right. Texas is making their own stock exchange. We'll use XRP, XLM, and HBAR for settlement and data tracking.
Hey, buddy, sorry, I was actually muted when I was saying something to the other guy, but I was muted. The guy that
go
commented,
ahead.
he says he watches me all the time with Max and stuff. I was actually talking to him, but I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, so hey, Daniel, thanks a lot for the comment, buddy. Thanks for watching. Hope we're bringing value and we're not wasting your time. Hopefully it all goes to the moon. Love you, bro. Thanks for your comment, man.
Oh, there we go.
I was muted. I was saying that, but I was muted. Didn't even realize I was muted.
No worries.
Thanks.
The Texas Stock Exchange will use XRP, XLM, and HBAR for settlement once it goes live next year. Thank you for that, Tracy Howard. Let's see here. Some Solana criticism here. Solana has 17 million meme coins in it with less than 1% liquidity. Solana market cap liquidity is like 1%.
Man, I can't say it's not true. I mean,
and then the ticker symbol for Canton is CC Fun. Yes, indeed. 33. C being the third letter in the alphabet.
I was gonna launch on Pump Fund because I was trying to think, like, if YouTube bans me, what other platform that I could launch on, at least have a presence, and and also it's they reward you better than YouTube, right? So I was planning to launch, but then I really thought, because if YouTube ever bans me, I have to have another platform somewhere.
Yep.
But when I looked at the scam, I was like, I can't. Personally, I don't want to. I decided not to. Just like, because I always talk about utility, but I think it's great if you have a meme that's really has it's good, but it's good for some things, but for my thing, I couldn't really bring utility to the token, so I decided not to. But
Okay,
if
no
you look,
worries.
if you go into Solana X, would it be the Explorer? If you look at the amount of rug pulls, it's crazy.
It is.
Just like it's 99% rug pulls. And so when the manager of Solana was literally on the Paul Barron network talking trash of XRP like crazy, he was like, buddy, he's like, because there's no volume as well. It's because CBDCs are being built on private ledgers. You wouldn't see the volume right now. And RippleNet's a private ledger as well, and so on. But anyways, he was like being a really, oh my goodness, it was terrible. But anyways, like, I'm like, buddy, like 99% of your volume is friggin' rug pulls. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I would be curious to know what is the amount of rug pull, what is the amount of liquidity, or sorry, the amount of volume that's tied to like scam tokens and rug pulls on the Solana network.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Like, I'm not saying it's not a good network. I mean, whatever, like, bring all the use cases you can, right? But to criticize other blockchains saying, we have more volume, well, where's your volume coming from? Like, it's like 99% rug pulls and pump and dumps. Like, I don't know what's the percentage. It's not 99% probably, but what would you say if you were to guess? I don't know. If you were to guess the amount of pump and dump, the volume that comes from pump and dump and rug pulls on Solana network, what would you say is, Rue, if you were to take a guess? What is the amount of
I couldn't even tell you, bro. It's probably really high. I know Visa does probably legitimately use Solana, but all of the stuff that they, with the some of those meme tokens is just out of control. They used to have RLUSD payment from one bank to another doesn't need XRP. A RLUSD to XRP to another currency does.
Yeah, that would, yeah. RLUSD to RLUSD, you wouldn't need it. From one bank to another, you don't need XRP. Correct. Or RLUSD to XRP to another currency, you would. Correct. Yeah.
And Jetpack again, RippleNet doesn't burn XRP automatically unless a participant uses XRP. And again, not all use XRP. But
Correct.
XRP does
they
have
will.
Go ahead.
It's not about the burn. It's not only about the burn. He's correct that they're not all using XRP, but they will have to. They will. They're not going to be able to compete. Because if they want to send a payment without XRP, they're going to have to go through the intermediary bank system. It's going to take a week to settle. Again, there's going to be 7% error rate. There's no, like, it's you have to use Nostro Vostro accounts. They don't even know where the payment's at. They're paying out crazy fees. They won't be able to send anything. They won't be able to compete cross-border when you're going to undeveloped country. Because if you're sending $100 payment to the Philippines, because that's all they need. They only need 100 USD per month, let's say, right? You're paying them 100 USD per month. You send them a payment, it costs $15, $20 to send a payment if you're going through the intermediary banking system. So if they're not using XRP, they're only using the messaging layer of RippleNet to send a message. Not using XRP, they need to go through the intermediary banking system, which they'll be obsolete within a few months, because like, how are they going to compete with everybody else using XRP?
Then RLUSD will be moved through the XRP ledger. Yep. Then we say
it's true though. I want to make something clear. It's true that you don't need to use XRP. But like I said earlier, in case some people just joined the conversation here, you don't need to use XRP and RippleNet. But the example I gave earlier is, if I need to go to another country real quick, and I have the option of either taking a plane or taking a skateboard, and my competitor is shipping some goods and doing stuff, and he's taking the airplane. So am I going to take the airplane too, or am I going to take the skateboard to go across the country? Like, I don't need to take the airplane, but I'd be pretty stupid not to.
yeah,
Right?
like
I'm gonna go out of
the thing would be if you have a cheaper, faster option, why would you not use it? Like you would be handicapping yourself. You're paying more to get nothing in return. Like why would you do it?
Yeah, you're paying 20 times more or 100 times more, depending on the payment, to basically do a transaction in a week instead of 3 seconds. So your capital is trapped for a week. You're literally your capital is trapped for a week with a 7% error rate. So 7%, 6 to 7% of the payments don't even go through. Rather than, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, again, it's like, do you want to use a broken skateboard to go across the country? Do you want to use a Ferrari or plane? Like, you can use a skateboard, but your competitor, you'll be out of business within a week. Like, nobody's gonna do intermediate. Even Swift is not even, guys, listen to me. Even Swift is not gonna use their intermediary banking. Like, even Swift is gonna use a settlement. You can't compete. Like, you have to do instant settlement. If 2% of people start doing instant settlement through XRP, everybody needs to follow. They're all going to be obsolete if they don't. Even Swift is when Swift uses RippleNet, even they're not gonna rely on just their intermediary messaging system. They're gonna use XRP for instant settlement. They're not gonna use their intermediary banking system. That's why XRP was created in the first place, and that's why Ripple is sitting, like I said, on the governance body for the ISO 20022, which is a SWIFT standard for cross-border payments. That's crazy to think about it.
Okay, what's Jesse's opinion on Zebec getting a listing on Bitavo, Europe's largest cryptocurrency exchange today?
Nice.
Right? It's great. Just more liquidity for Zebec there.
Nice.
And Tracy Howard, 3,000 to 5,000 XRP are being burned every day.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, it's going to take a lot of days. So, when they ramp up, so let's say the volume goes 100x volume, that would be 500,000 per day. 500,000 per day. So, 500,000 times It's 500 million. That would be 160 million per year. If the volume ramps up by 100x, it would be, it'd be what did I say? Yeah, 500,000. 500,000 times 365 days. That would be like basically 166 million per year in XRP tokens being burnt at 100 times the volume.
And see, that's why they definitely would need to raise the price of XRP. Because if it was a low price, that would burn way too much.
Yeah, and they said it themselves. They said we need a higher price because the higher the price, the cheaper it is to move the value.
Yeah.
Because now you only need to use 1 XRP or maybe bridge 10 XRP or 50 XRP rather than having to use 1,000,000 XRP. It makes the network way more efficient and cheaper and everything. David Short said that we need a higher price XRP. But who's the creator? One of the creators of XRP, he said that it was built for 10,000. Who was that again? Was it Arthur Britto? Or no? Who was it that said that? He said XRP was built for 10,000. This leaked many years ago. I can't remember who it was.
I saw that in World Bank documentation too, I think.
One of the creators or founder, one of the creators literally said, I actually wrote an article on it explaining like why, I think it's an article, like literally explaining why XRP was built for 10,000. I could look at it in Grok right now and find it, but because if you want to be the internet value, you can't have a cheap price. You cannot be that liquidity layer for, derivatives, stocks, bonds, derivatives, global debt, corporate debt, sovereign debt, which is government debt. You're talking trillions and trillions and trillions. Tokenization of gold, stocks, commodities, silver, tokenizing oil on the blockchain, tokenizing everything. 67 what?
6-7. It's a new word that the kids are saying today. 6-7. My daughter, she let me onto that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still some Swift people in the or some Linea people in the chat. But I think we sufficiently answered that tonight.
It's okay. They can have stabs at me. You can show the comments. It'll get me used to having more thick skin.
Let's see here. Okay, let's see.
No, but if we answered it already.
Sure, let's some stuff is simply not true, no factual evidence, but word of mouth.
Okay, which one? No, it's okay. Which one? Ask him which one. Jetpack, which one? What did I say? There's no evidence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What did I say that I don't have any evidence? I can't show 4 hours of evidence in on one question.
Yeah.
Just explain. I don't have my documents in front of me to pull up all the documents and do a deep dive just to prove what I'm saying. If you don't believe what I'm saying, go and watch my YouTube videos. But it's impossible for me to show all the evidence right now. I can't even upload documents. The Rue is the one that's basically hosting this. He has, and again, I'm not going to do a 18-hour deep dive to answer a question. Can't do it from here. If you think I'm lying, go check out my videos.
Can you just use smart contracts instead of a bridge currency or a nostro-vostro if both currencies are on the same blockchain as stablecoins? Would it be possible like an atomic swap or an exchange transaction?
Okay, I just want to read this carefully. Can you just use a smart contract instead of a bridge currency or nostro-vostro if both currencies are on the same blockchain as a stablecoin? Would it be possible like an atomic swap or exchange transaction? My understandings of an atomic swap is just because I was curious, like, what does it mean to atomic swap? And my understanding is atomic swap, Gabriel, just means that the transaction is either going to go true, it's either going to settle 100% or it's not going to settle at all. Like, there's not going to be like half of the transaction went true and the half failed, or 10% went true and 10% 90% failed. It's like it's either all or nothing. It's either going to settle completely properly or it's not going to settle at all. And that's what atomic swap means by my understanding. So I think like you still need a bridge asset because like you need liquidity. You need to know what is the pair, right? Like when you're swapping one currency to another, well, what is, what's the pair? Is this currency equal to 1.456 currencies of the other one? Or like, let's say you have USD and same blockchain as stablecoin. So let's say you have a Euro stablecoin and a US stablecoin and you want to swap it. Well, there's a lot of liquidity there actually. So that may be not a good example, but let's look at a peso versus the yuan. So if you want to go, like if you want to exchange a peso for yuan, you have to know like what's the liquidity. If there's no pool of liquidity or a bridge asset, how would you know what's the exchange rate? How would you determine the exchange rate? So my understanding is it's no would be my answer, because you need a bridge asset for liquidity. And you need to have liquidity pools, sufficient liquidity pool, because the XRP ledger, the way it's built is anything liquid to XRP and the XRP ledger is automatically liquid to anything else that's liquid to XRP and the XRP ledger, because of the path finding and all the mechanisms that make it happen. And this is very important. Anything liquid to XRP is automatically liquid. So any asset on the XRP ledger that's liquid to XRP is automatically liquid to any other asset that's liquid to XRP. And that's the internal value. And it's because of the multi-hop, the path finding, multi-hop, interledger, like everything, all the different components combined. It's purposely built for that. It's purposely built so that anything liquid to XRP is automatically liquid to anything else on XRP. And only XRP does that, and probably Stellar a bit too. But that's why you can go from any asset to any asset. So my answer there, Uriel, would be no. And I think because again, you need that bridge asset or liquidity, and you wouldn't know what's the ratio as well, right? How would you swap? How would you know the ratio? So my answer is, I think, is no, if that makes sense. Can you just, yeah. And again, atomic swap, he can look this up, Gabriel. I think from my understanding, atomic swap, it just means it's just either transaction goes through or it doesn't go through at all, is what I was told when I asked ROC3, like, what does it mean, atomic settlement? What's the difference between that and regular settlement and bridge asset, whatever, and explain that. And atomic settlement is either 100% or not at all. It either completely fails or completely goes through. Is my understanding, but he can look that up and see if I'm correct. Thank you, Gabriel.
And then here's the more criticism here. Bank-to-bank international, SWIFT using Linea with links to CCIP and XLR is interoperability, so you're wrong.
So let's settle this one again. So the Bank for International Settlements has a task force. It's called the under the Financial Payments Markets Infrastructure, the PFMI. And so the Bank for International Settlements is the central banks for all central banks. Okay, they literally decide when wars start and when they finish. There's no other bank more powerful than the Bank for International Settlements, along with the Financial Stability Board, the FSB, and which is the right arm that forces all the different banks to. Anyways, they say they. Anyways, let's go to his question. So, the Bank for International Settlements has a cross-border interoperability task force, and Ripple is the only blockchain company. And I could pull up the document right now, if I had access, right? And it would take me time to send it to you, and you'd have to upload it. It'd be a big mess. But the only blockchain company on the cross-border interoperability task force. This is a task force. They're not going for lunch here. This is a task force. Okay. So kind of like a governance body or standard setting body, governance body. This is a task force for cross-border interoperability. And Ripple is the only blockchain company sitting on this task force. And I have the document and I show that in my deep dives all the time. And the other thing too is I have a video of the head technologist for the BIS. He explains how the unified ledger, if we have the unified ledger, we can replace SWIFT. And he talks about how the unified ledger will replace the intermediary banks. And he talks about how right now payments are going through a chain of intermediary banks. And he says, but if we have the unified ledger, we can replace SWIFT. This is the bank, this is the BIS saying that. Okay. And who has been saying for 6-7 years now, we are replacing SWIFT. We're replacing SWIFT. Everybody knows that Ripple was supposed to be the competitor of Swift. But if people have done thousands of hours of research, they'll know that there's not really competition. Swift was always going to connect to Ripple, and Swift is using Ripple. I've done 3 deep dives on my YouTube channel. If you're open-minded at all, you can go watch them. Okay, all the proof is there. I promise you, if you watch my deep dives, you will have no question or no doubt anymore that Swift uses the XRP ledger for cross-border payments. And again, the BIS talks about the Finternet, the unified ledger. And we see the Finternet diagram, the Finternet, and then you have the unified ledger, which again, keep in mind, they've said that the unified ledger replaces Swift. And we see the unified ledger being connected via the Interledger protocol. And it's the same thing where we see the internal value for the Hyperledger Foundation document, where we see all the different central banks connected to the XRP ledger via the Interledger protocol, ILP. Okay, so, and the regulated liability network used to be called the regulated internal value. So the BIS is not using Linea or Link for cross-border and liquidity. It's not happening. They will use XLR for cross-chain maybe, for one asset to move from one network to another. It can reside on different, that's XLR, and CCIP and Link is to bridge data from the real world to the blockchain, like we explained earlier. But the BIS, again, Ripple's the only blockchain company on the Interoperability cross-border task force for the BIS, for the payments and financial payments markets infrastructure, the FPMI, I think. So, and then Gilbert Verdian, when he was talking about the regulated liability network, he said, we provided the programmability, interoperability, and custom APIs for the project, but we also partnered with R3, who's bringing the shared ledger where all tokenized assets will reside. The shared ledger. And then Tony McLaughlin admitted that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network are the same thing. We have documents showing that the regulated liability network used to be called the regulated internal value, but they changed the name real quick because everybody knows that's Ripple. And then a document from German central bank is saying that the regulated liability network, when the BIS talks about the regulated liability network, they call it the unified ledger. So we got a central bank admitting that instead of saying the regulated liability network, the BIS calls it the unified ledger. Now keep in mind, the regulated liability network used to be called the regulated internal value. Ripple is the internal value, not Swift, not Linea, not Ethereum, Ripple. And the document says that this regulated liability network, which is the unified ledger and the shared ledger and the regulated internal value, could become a global RTGS. And we have documents from the Hyperledger Foundation showing that XRP is the global RTGS. And every central bank has their RTGS system, and they're all connected to the XRP ledger, which is the global RTGS. I have all those documents. It's all on my channel, but I can't show them right now.
Yeah, and you have to go to his channel for that. And he says additionally, go to Gronk. Is Linea and Swift cross-border payment? Type that in, which we know AI isn't always correct in how they answer questions. So
yeah, listen, I'm not gonna waste any more time.
We don't definitely not.
And at least an hour.
Yeah, for sure. And so and I would just say for you, Crypto Promised Land, I would say just do a little bit more research on XRP, and you'll know the banks that it's connected to, all the different multi country people that are invested in it, the Saudi princes, the Dubai people, all of this. There's just so much information on that. I think you're just looking at one layer of it, which is the interoperability from Chainlink's point of view. But there's a higher level in how the central banks connect. And I haven't seen anywhere where central banks have been linked to Chainlink and XLR as much as central banks have been linked to XRP and Ripple.
If he wants, if he's open, you can, Crypto Promise, you can go if you want. Pressure, okay? It's up to you. You can go on my YouTube channel, my first video on my homepage right there. That would be one of the main videos. And then again, there's in my YouTube playlist, XRP playlist, I have like 3-4 deep dives. I clearly show that XRP is using XRP Ledger. I could probably do 40,000 hours of deep dive showing Swift, is using XRP Ledger. There's so much evidence.
And here's a good comment here by Big Mike. Chainlink CCIP is limited to blockchain or Oracle enhanced off-chain data feeds without native legacy hooks. So just what Jesse had said earlier, it's just the data feed. It doesn't have anything to do with the APIs, that are embedded within ISO 20022. It doesn't have anything to do with that part.
It's not a purpose built. It's not a purpose built bridge asset. It's not a bridge asset. It's an oracle.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, I think this is a good, a decent comment here by Pizarro. Shout out to Pizarro, frequent watcher on the channel. Don't be disappointed if and sell if November 2022 is nothing. Sol Invictus is Latin for Sun Invincible. Sol is celebrated on December 25th. Sol is a pagan Christian tradition following through to Easter. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by the Sol Invictus. Are you saying that something's going to happen on December 25th? Or are you just saying that November 22nd is a nothing burger?
No, I think he's saying don't be disappointed and sell if nothing happens.
Okay, gotcha.
Because there's things that are invisible behind. There's things happening, invisible things that are happening.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Pizarro, and thank you for reposting the scene, Gene. Let's see here. Okay. Again, this might be for another episode. Even the Russians know what we're about to do with the debt. Go look at Putin talking about what we're fixing to do with the U.S. debt. Yeah, that might be for another episode. Let's keep something in the pipe for that one.
Let's just all admit that the escrow is not for us. Okay. There's 40 billion left in escrow. It's not for us.
The U.S. is trying to rewrite the rules with gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember the size of the debt, $35 trillion. What's that? Okay, so yeah, 35 trillion debt. But then again, we could get into how real is that debt and who, that it's a private bank and that, the government can kind of just print money without, with the powers they're endowed by technically being voted in. Let me not get started on the debt. Huh?
The debt's worse than that because if you consider all the other liabilities and promises they have, like the social, their Medicare,
security,
their benefits, social security benefits, everything is like 100 trillion.
Jeez.
They look at all the promises and liabilities that they have coming. I think everything they have to pay in the next God knows how many years. I think it's like 100 trillion. Anyways.
Ouch. Yeah.
That's why we need 100,000 XRP. $100. We need $100,000 XRP. I'm not saying it's going to go to 100,000, guys. I'm just kidding.
That would be nice. Oh
my goodness.
Big Mike, you're Elon Musk. Okay.
Ah, nice. Really? Oh, nice.
People sitting around waiting for advertisements of XDC and R3, but you're not gonna get them because they're not paying influencers to talk about them. Their use case for institutions, 100%.
Yeah.
One of the things that was really shocking to me was like they had this information about XDC where they were like, "Oh, R3 is trying to sell, or R3 is trying to be sold, or something like that." Do you remember they had that crap come out that Corda was trying to sell R3 or something like that?
I think so. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like once Trump got into office, like XDC like CEOs is just he's just chilling at the White House and all of this, and I'm like, wait, what? Where did all of this come from now? Okay, so yeah, definitely XDC I think is very much undervalued out here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, interesting. Because I always wonder how they just come out and say these things that massive this is hit that or whatever. But maybe they signal something when they say these things. So that's why I'm going to say this. Breaking news: a massive solar storm has hit the Earth. The first CME coronal mass ejection slammed into our magnetic field with extreme intensity. Bigger show possible Wednesday. So are you kidding around me here, Mike, with this one, or is this like some type of actual announcement? Bigger show tomorrow, huh? Because of the coronal mass ejection. Let's see here. WrestleMania, let's go. $5 super chat from Max. Let's see here. I bring the WrestleMania out of people, Big Mike. Look into Fugger connection with Ripple and silver copper mining pre-Rothschild. Ooh, interesting. Okay. David Schwartz also said that banks won't be Ripple's success story. Apex, what do you take from that statement?
David Schwartz also said banks won't be Ripple's success story. Well, I don't know where he said that, but David Schwartz said that when central banks start holding XRP, that's when it's game over. That he said something along like that's the nirvana, or that's the I can't remember exact wordings, but he said that's when it's game over, when all central banks start holding XRP. Something like that. So I'm not sure where he said that and what he meant by that, but yeah, XRP is the global RTGS, right? It's like every central bank has their real-time gross settlement systems. It's a settlement system for the nation, but XRP is that global RTGS. It allows all the central banks to do whatever they want to do, but when they want to settle across border, they don't need to hold US dollar or hold this and that, and they can just do whatever they want and just settle through XRP. So they can hold any asset. If they say, hey, you know what? We're going to hold tokenized gold, tokenized silver. We're going to hold hold whatever you want. You don't need to hold a specific reserve currency now. You don't need to hold the US dollar because it's the most liquid one and the only liquid one for your global trade, because that was the Bretton Woods. You don't need to do that anymore. Just hold whatever you want. And you can do global trade, because when you need to settle with anybody in the world, you can just send a payment through RippleNet or through the XRP ledger. And that country will receive whatever asset they want on their end. So it's all the money, like the central banks. That's why it's the global RTGS. It's the real-time gross settlement system for all of the nations, all the central banks. Okay. So it's all the banks. So I don't know what he would have meant by that, but it's all the central banks. Maybe not the little banks, central banks.
Good Lord is a cutie patootie. She is for sure. So we got over 1,103 watching us tonight. One of my biggest shows before. I've only had this happen maybe once or twice before. So Jesse, you brought out a crowd for sure here.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely we'll have to do it again when you have time, brother. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. I feel terrible because I forgot to share it on Twitter. I didn't even know you sent me a link. I completely forgot to share it on my Twitter. Oh,
That's okay, brother. We'll have to do it next time.
Yeah.
But any closing statements?
No, man. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the comments, guys. I do apologize. I'm a bit direct sometimes when I talk about XRP. I'm just so tired of the FUD and people being deceived. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the support that you guys have been giving me, and Rue and Maximus Crypto. Shout out. You gotta give that guy a follow, man. Without him, I don't even know if anybody would know about me without Max. He was telling everybody, like, you better follow Jesse, man. If you're not following Jesse, what the hell? Like, just blasting his community all the time. So shout out to Maximus Crypto. Give him a follow. Thank you so much, Rue, for inviting me. It's always just such an honor to be on your show, talking with you, man. I like talking with people who have done their research, so it's really, really nice to be here with you again. Thanks so much,
brother.
We'll definitely do it again, and thank you so much, guys, for listening to my rants, and love you lots.
And if you guys made it to the end, put Jesse in the comments, not in the comments of the live, but in the comments of the show. It helps spread the show around, and we definitely want to spread the show around. Thank you guys so much, and do not forget to like and subscribe to both shows. We're out. Peace.
See you guys.